Chapter 2084. Reincarnation. Ancestral land became unstable. Bloody radiance surged in this time and space that covered the sun. A bitter aura surged, triggering a world-ending calamity. Piece after piece of ruined bones, burning to the extreme, also erupted, outlining an indistinct black-clothed man. He raised his hand, recalling the immortal execution sword. In the end, he reversed the flow of power, releasing a sword at the peak, slaughtering the entire ancestral land until a sea of blood overflowed. The entire world trembled. Reincarnation. Ancestral land encountered great changes. Previously, the master of the celestial court broke through the ancestral court, causing the clan's ancestral land's defensive power to be much weaker than before. Otherwise, the black-clothed woman would have already taken action. Now, the mysterious skeleton was secretly watching. In the end, it seized the opportunity to heavily injure the Reincarnation Emperor clan again, beating the ancestral land until it was about to collapse. Sword Ancestor. Within the celestial race's ancestral land, a bronze-skinned man overseeing the clan roared. He reached out a large hand, boundless and vast, crossing the great cosmos, slaughtering towards the Sword Ancestor, who was currently unleashing a great slaughter. "You are still alive!" The Sien people's white-clothed man's face fell. Back then, the Sword Ancestor could be compared to them, but now, he was nothing more than a pile of ruined bones, yet he still dared to interfere in this battle. He also erupted with power, opening his mouth and spitting out a mouthful of air that crossed millions and millions of li. The instant he swooped down, this breath was vast and boundless, rushing towards the Reincarnation Emperor clan. This scene made the black-clothed woman's expression slightly ease. Things already reached this point, she couldn't return. She had to get rid of Su Yen. Reincarnation's second ancestor's fingertips immediately became terrifying, crushing the sword radiance protecting Su Yen endlessly, penetrating his flesh. It even pressed against Su Yan's chest, making the 33 heavens tremble fiercely, about to explode. "Ah!" Su Yen roared in grief and indignation. It was extremely painful. At the critical moment of destruction, Su Yan's flesh burned fiercely, 10-colored precious blood surging. An extremely terrifying scene appeared behind him. Primal chaos like a sea, vile earth appearing. Indistinct Emperor clan figures appeared one after another, heading towards the ancestor who created the world, treading on the long river of history to return. What kind of irregular scene is that? Why is this type of irregular scene appearing? Could it be related to the most ancient existence? The black-clothed woman's eyes opened wide. Even someone as formidable as her found it difficult to discern any clues about Su Yen. This sort of phenomenon was rather absurd, and it was as if the emperors had returned and called upon the world to look down upon the three dimensions. Su Yan's body suddenly burst into flames. Under the threat of death, the 10-colored blood erupted and caused Su Yan's flesh to burn even more fiercely. The phenomenon of the return of the emperors became even more intense. "Suppress!" The black-clothed woman glared angrily. A vertical eye opened between her brows, illuminating the sea of stars and projecting the most powerful Emperor Dao law order. She simply forced herself into the long river of history to resist the return of this mysterious and terrifying power. This woman was too strong. Su Yen was filled with hatred. At the same time, she stretched out her palms and attacked Su Yan's body. Roar, the Spacetime Emperor and Old Azure Dragon attacked, but it was useless. The black-clothed woman was the most powerful emperor, and her might suppressed the universe. Her two large hands opened up the cycle of life and death, forcing the two great experts to tremble and cough up large amounts of blood. Su Yen, the Spacetime Emperor, cried out in grief and indignation. In the end, there was still a huge gap between them and the most powerful emperor. Although the Spacetime Emperor was infinitely close, the gap between them and Old Azure Dragon was even greater. However, facing the most powerful emperor, even if there was a small gap, it was like ascending to the heavens. Su Yan's chest cracked, and his soul was about to scatter. His eyes were burning like torches, shooting out raging flames. He was unwilling to accept this, too unwilling. He had already walked the path of an expert. He believed that he would be invincible in the future. Now that the most powerful emperor wanted to kill him, Su Yan found it difficult to resist, and his body trembled. The 33 Heavens Heaven Burial Cave rumbled violently, facing the misfortune of being suppressed. Once the 33 heavens were lost, Su Yan would undoubtedly die. Kill! Suddenly, Su Yan roared, because he realized that the Heaven Burial Cave was on the verge of exploding. The 9-colored damaged artifact that was dormant in his body had been revived. The 9-colored damaged artifact looked like a sword embryo. Su Yan held it in his bleeding hand. When the 10-colored precious blood in his body whistled, the 9-colored damaged artifact shone, flowing with an unimaginable aura. Suddenly, Su Yan realized that the 9-colored damaged artifact seemed to be one with the Heaven Burial Cave. When he activated the Heaven Burial Cave to activate the 9-colored damaged artifact, this damaged artifact was somewhat frightening. It was as if it had turned into a huge 9-colored heavenly coffin, suppressing the past, present, and future. Ah! Su Yan roared. His body was about to turn into a dried corpse in an instant. It was too difficult for this thing to revive. After draining Su Yan's origin essence, it finally erupted with the 9-colored damaged artifact's power and charged toward the black-clothed woman. It's it! The black-clothed woman's eyes widened. This was the artifact they had plotted to obtain in the past, but what was ridiculous was that it was in a damaged state. Why was it damaged? Who could damage this artifact? This artifact was related to the War of the Three Realms and the disputes of ancient times. The 3 great heavenly coffins fell into the 3 realms and caused a series of great battles. However, the 9-colored heavenly coffin was damaged. The remaining 9-colored damaged artifact suddenly became 1,000,000,000 times more terrifying. It emitted a source of power that destroyed the strongest Emperor Dao Law pressing down on it. It even smashed the arm that was pressing on Su Yan's chest. Ah! The black-clothed woman cried out in pain. She was actually injured. One of her arms was broken, and blood was gushing out. The old azure dragon was shocked. Su Yan's 9-colored damaged artifact couldn't be a fragment of a supreme true treasure, could it? Otherwise, how could it break the black-clothed woman's arm in a single exchange? This 9-colored damaged body was a little ridiculous. Cough, cough, Su Yan was coughing up blood. His eyes were blurry and his ears were deaf. His injuries were even more severe. His immortal king body was shattering. He wanted to launch a second attack, but he no longer had any strength. He fell weakly into a pool of blood. I think I'm going to die, Su Yan muttered to himself. He had never felt so tired. He had never felt this tired before. After such a long and bloody battle, he was exhausted. His mind and will were blurry. Swish, swish. In an instant, the space-time emperor pulled Su Yan's damaged body and flew toward the distant world. No one can escape. The black-clothed woman was furious. She waved her single arm and pressed down on Su Yan again. Bitch, you've gone too far. The space-time emperor roared furiously. The 3 realms' heavenly river flew out. The 3 rivers' auras went berserk as they circulated. The 3 rivers of different colors instantly produced a destructive storm that caused the river of time to become chaotic. You old bastard! The black-clothed woman was furious. The space-time emperor's self-destruction of the 3 realms' heavenly river triggered the turbulence of time and space. It formed 3 colorful drains that were about to destroy the strongest emperor's body. One had to know that the 3 realms' heavenly river was the strongest treasure. After all, the materials needed to forge it were quite high-end. She didn't expect the space-time emperor to be willing to destroy the 3 realms' heavenly river to buy time for Su Yan. This was a great crisis. The black-clothed woman struggled with all her might. She used a lot of strength to fight her way out of the death gale. However, she also suffered great injuries. Her body was covered in blood, and her scattered hair had exploded. No one can escape," the black-clothed woman rebuked angrily. She was still calm. "So what if you escape to the burial ground? Bitch bastard, go back and take a look at your ancestral land." The old azure dragon had a fiery temper. This made the black-clothed woman furious. This terrifying creature had gone mad. The thick earth collapsed endlessly, and the vast space-time rumbled and trembled. "No one from the celestial court can escape," the black-clothed woman roared. The boundless sky exploded. It was so terrifying that it made all living things tremble. They felt that this world didn't exist anymore. The celestial world's environment was collapsing. This was the strongest emperor. He was above all living things in the universe and was respectfully called second ancestor by the reincarnation emperor race. It wasn't just the sword ancestor. The prehistoric Big Brother burned his life force in a great battle. The broken celestial pagoda fell down again and again. This was very crazy. Even the experts of the other two emperor clans didn't dare to leave their ancestral land. They were worried that a disaster would happen. This would become an irreparable loss. The three great experts started fighting in the reincarnation ancestral land. They wanted to let the strongest great emperors know that once they left, the supreme true treasures that were guarding their clans couldn't return. The three great emperors' clans were nothing. Su Yan, hold on. The space-time emperor had a bad premonition. Su Yan's primordial spirit was so weak that he couldn't see through it. As they approached the burial ground, Big Goldie moved them in. In the world of Burial Sky Ocean, Tai Baokai and the others had ugly expressions. Su Yan's injured body was bleeding continuously. His eyes were dim. The soldiers in the sky roared. They didn't help at all. In the end, Su Yan stood out and used his life to buy time for them to move their clans. They were full of guilt. These people kept roaring in grief. They were worried that something would happen to Su Yan. How could this be? Bamboo Moon cried. She had never seen Su Yan in such a state. After waving the 9-colored broken artifact, he seemed to be empty. His essence, energy, and spirit were leaking out. The spiritual emperor's chest breathed out, and divine essence kept leaking out. Every lump of matter could be called a divine medicine. It was relatively precious. However, no matter how strong the energy it emitted was, Su Yan could absorb it. It was like falling into an infinite divine pool. He couldn't see the bottom. Bastard! The old azure dragon's expression was gloomy. What was going on? Su Yan couldn't hear anything. His eyes were a bit blurry. He reached out with great difficulty and stroked Bamboo Moon's cheeks and her big belly. He said in a trembling voice, "This time, I've chosen a dead end. I've only let you down." "Husband, don't say that. No matter what you do, I'll support you," Bamboo Moon cried bitterly. She had a bad premonition. She felt her stomach hurt again. She cried out in pain and sweat poured down her body like rain. It was as if she was about to give birth. "Can I, Su Yan, survive?" Su Yan coughed up blood. Blood kept flowing out of his body. He didn't know what was going on. It was as if he couldn't go back. It was as if his entire person was about to disappear. It was as if he had never come to this world. Was this emptiness? The 9-colored broken artifact was too fierce. His physical body had undergone an outrageous mutation. It was as if the 33 Heavens burial cave had merged with Su Yan's body. The space-time emperor's expression was ugly. He stared at the 9-colored broken artifact. He wanted nothing more than to destroy it. It was all because of it. There was a big problem with this thing. It had hollowed out Su Yan's vitality. Even his essence, energy, and spirit were gone. It was as if everything had been buried. She's about to give birth. Bamboo Moon is about to give birth. Fairy Xia shouted. Su Yan suddenly became alert. He forced himself to pull himself together. His child was about to be born. Chapter 2085. The celestial world was in chaos. The 10 great battlefields were in a state of emergency. The immortal devil battlefield reopened. Blood flowed everywhere, wailing sounds rang out, all living beings were in grief. Shocking changes that were enough to be recorded in the history of the celestial world happened one after another. It sounded like a dream, as if this happened a long time ago. The celestial world's people weren't willing to believe that this part of history was real. They really wanted to say that this was fake, that it didn't exist at all, that it was just a dream. The 10 great battlefields were in a state of emergency. The Dark World Army was about to slaughter their way to the Celestial World Army camp, creating an even greater disaster. What are the Emperor races doing? What is Immortal Elder Academy doing? Reinforcements. Where are the reinforcements? Is the celestial world going to give up on the 10 great battlefields? I can't take it anymore, I can't hold on anymore, let's retreat. The experts of the 10 great battlefields cried out in despair, echoing in the bloody space, sounding a bit distant. They couldn't hold on anymore, exhausted, without reinforcements. Many armies had already fled the battlefield. If they continued fighting, they would all die. Here in the Three Realms battlefield, the immortal devil battlefield reopened. The children of the 3 great ancestor gods of the dark world quietly waited for the experts of the celestial world to fight. In the god and devil wall, Fan Jian was like a loudspeaker, announcing everywhere. The army's morale was unstable, triggering even greater chaos. It's all because of you. Fan Jian roared. History will remember Su Yan. I believe that millions of years later, the entire world will remember the Imperial War God. The entire world trembled. This was a great change that had never happened before. News spread everywhere, triggering a terrifying frenzy. Empress fell, Immortal Monarch fell, Heavenly Eye Vision King died, Tenrai of Beach and the others fell. A group of experts left Immortal Cave. Heavenly Dragon Maiden's group left. Celestial World's most terrifying Imperial War God betrayed the Celestial World, triggering a series of great battles. Young Emperor, 100 deaths won't be enough to redeem you. 100 deaths won't be enough to redeem you. Xian people, Heaven race, Reincarnation Emperor race, do you want to push the Celestial World into a pit of fire? The human world's defeat. Why didn't the Emperor race step out to say anything? Not a single attitude. Could it be that our celestial world only has these 3 emperor clans, the others are just decorations? Celestial world still has a future? Can it still stop the dark world? The experts of the older generation howled in grief. The changes in Emperor City, a sea of blood. Su Yan was crowned emperor. The great emperor race elites were seriously injured, emperors falling one after another. This was a great injury to the immortal world. Some of the monarch clans sighed. If the 3 monarch clans joined forces, they would be the rulers of the immortal world. Who would dare to say anything? If they stood on the wrong side, they wouldn't have a good ending. Now, the words of them wanting to wipe out the humans who betrayed the immortal world still echoed in their ears. How much time had it been since the calamity? Day after day, the immortal world was constantly changing. The immortal realm had suffered a heavy blow. Once they lost the immortal demon battlefield, the immortal realm would usher in a difficult era. The entire immortal realm was bleeding, and it could be said that the end of the world had arrived, roaring endlessly. The people of the world only wanted to end this heavy historical event immediately. The greatest enemy of the immortal world was the dark world. After all, of Immortal Elder Academy's 3 giants, 2 broke away from the immortal realm, and 1 fell. Immortal Elder Academy was like a group of dragons without a leader, and even Yi Lingtian left. Thunder Immortal Elder was also killed by Su Yan. With the leader gone, the core organization of the celestial world could be declared disbanded. The celestial world had completely entered a chaotic era. You all won't be able to escape. Reincarnation Emperor Clan's second ancestor roared. After they finished fighting, they left. The small stone pagoda that had already grown to 10 inches rumbled. Even though it was beaten until there were many cracks, it was still a stone pagoda that was infinitely close to a supreme treasure. It withdrew from reincarnation ancestral land. Summon the power of the clans and overturn burial realm. Summon the subordinate powers and flatten all of the clans of the traitors. At the same time, the higher levels of the 3 emperor clans issued the most powerful order, mobilizing the power of the clans to tear apart burial realm's life danger zone. They didn't believe that the 3 emperor clans couldn't overturn burial realm with their combined power. At the same time, the 3 ancestors didn't dare leave their clans, fearing that they would encounter a great change like before. Otherwise, they really wouldn't be able to endure the losses. Reincarnation Emperor clan's losses were too heavy. 20 to 30% of their ancestral land had collapsed, and even the ancestral court had collapsed. This type of damage needed endless heavenly treasures to repair. Moreover, the clans also suffered heavy casualties. The immortal realm rumbled and trembled, all lands in chaos. Some Emperor clan experts were furious. What kind of time was this? The 10 great battlefields were about to be torn apart. Powerful foreign enemies had invaded, and the 10 great battlefields had all lost veterans who had experienced hundreds of battles. Burial Realm was the #1 life danger zone of the immortal realm. Could it be attacked in a short time? In fact, it was fine if they attacked Burial Realm, but at this time, they actually wanted to launch a great purge, massacring countless clans. This is too much. Some Emperor clan experts couldn't stand it anymore. The situation was already like this, and they were still acting so domineeringly. Were they really not afraid of incurring the wrath of the immortal realm? There were also Emperor clan experts whose expressions were gloomy. Could it be that the 3 Emperor clans had a secret relationship with the Dark World? Perhaps even if the Dark World really couldn't hold on one day, the 3 Emperor clans would still be safe and sound? They had to be on guard. Some Emperor clans secretly contacted each other. They didn't want to end up like the Spacetime Emperor, being betrayed and not even being able to get justice. Of course, the matter wouldn't be so serious. After all, the immortal realm had been broken, and the 3 Emperor clans weren't supreme Emperor clans. They were just afraid that the 3 Emperor clans would find a way out. They could fight, but they could also stay out of it. Everyone knew that the Dark World launched a great war in order to complete the Great Unification. Some old antiques sighed, having a bad feeling. The Dark World was eyeing covetously, and the immortal realm's internal strife could be said to be a tragic situation that had never happened before. Heaven knew what the future would be like. The first ones that the 3 Emperor clans wanted to kill were the Heavenly Monkey King's lineage, the Spiritual Sovereign Emperor's lineage, and the Royal City Phoenix King's lineage. But very unfortunately, most of these forces had moved, and the ancestral lands that they left behind were practically empty shells. This made the experts who led the army to kill the various clans so angry that they vomited blood. Without a doubt, they had all gone to Burial Realm. Continue to investigate for me. An old big shot said coldly, mobilize the various clans and forces of the various great ancient realms. Investigate for me. This is a great crime worthy of 9 familial exterminations. Everyone must be dragged to the city to be beheaded as a warning to others. The 3 Emperor clans issued the strongest battle order, making all the strongest clans of the various great ancient realms cooperate to detain all the criminals in a short time and behead them in public. The vicious demons of the lower realm are wreaking havoc in the immortal realm. They should be exterminated. The hidden starry sky emperor stood out and declared his position, grasping his clan's heavenly star bead. He walked out of his mountain gate, calling for the world to exterminate Burial Realm together. The losses in this battle were disastrous, but Su Yen only suffered a bit of resentment. He was already an emperor now, and he had stolen the 3 Emperor clans' heaven-opening scripture. On the other hand, the three emperor clans couldn't even keep Su Yan behind. This was a great humiliation. How could the three emperor clans just let this go? It was to the extent where Su Yan grasped the complete heaven-opening lightning scripture, heaven-opening path, and human emperor scripture. 6 great heaven-opening scriptures. Once Su Yan and the others left the immortal realm, the consequences would be unimaginable. Vicious demons wreak havoc in the world, take care of them! Quell the internal chaos, and then suppress the dark world. The immortal realm stirred up a great storm, the process extremely terrifying. Quite a few powers walked out to take side. Immortal Elder Academy could already be disbanded, and the core organization in the future would be the three emperor clans. This was the direction of the immortal realm's general trend. Storms surged. Old monsters walked out from their mountain gates one after another, carrying emperor artifacts, releasing ice-cold killing intent, closing in on burial realms space-time. Right at this moment, the region where the three great supreme treasures fought a bloody battle was reduced to a land of death, causing destruction and order to interweave together. This was a region that even emperors felt restraining fear towards, not daring to rashly approach. In short, about 1/10 of the immortal realm's territory was reduced to a land of death. Hong! A great explosion sounded from within, accompanied by the fluctuations of a grand river of history, crushing towards this land of death, a majestic aura pervading the air. If not for the land of death separating them, an unmatched giant beast that stepped into the immortal realm from beyond the heavens would have shaken up the immortal realm's space-time. Finally returned. Another low roar echoed out. The purple Qilin that was covered in blood rushed into the immortal world. Its body was majestic and incomparably tall, filled with the aura of primordial ferocity. Its purple eyes stared at this land of death. The huge black beast shook its huge body, pressing its huge claws on the ground. Its entire body emitted a powerful aura, unaffected and undisturbed by this region. To them, crossing the boundless world of death, crossing the burial emperor vile earth that would make emperors' faces change when talking about it, and experiencing immeasurable killing, they were now in a disaster area, but it could only be considered a small disaster. The black beast's body was as black as a mountain ridge dyed with bloody light. Its mouth and nose spewed out world-destroying reincarnation light, so terrifying that it made the great Tao of heaven and earth tremble. It sniffed the ground and sensed a familiar aura. It's the residual fluctuation of Master's Emperor bloodline. The purple Qilin was emotional, saying, "Could it be, little child? Let's settle the score first." The black beast said coldly, "I can vaguely sense that the aura that suppressed the origin of the immortal realm back then isn't too far away from us. Let's make a trip there first and ask what happened during these years." The three emperor clans were already infinitely close to the burial realm, one after another. The old experts leading the group had cold expressions, filled with a terrifying murderous aura. Among them, the Starry Sky Emperor shuddered inexplicably. He felt a chill, as if he was being watched by some creature. It was as if he had seen a huge black beast secretly watching him. He was a little shocked. What was going on? In the burial heaven sea, the space-time emperor and the others grew more and more uneasy. The three emperors joined forces and tried to use Emperor's origin to nourish Su Yan's broken body, but it was to no avail. Su Yan's body was like a bottomless pit. It was unbelievable. Su Yan was bleeding all over, and his broken body kept collapsing. He did not have much life left. The space-time emperor roared in grief. Why was it like this? The three emperors joined forces, but they were unable to save Su Yan. This was not right. Su Yan's body had a huge problem, and it was no longer something that could be done with simple nourishment. However, they were powerless to solve it. Don't waste any more Emperor's origin. Su Yan's spirit was getting weaker, and his primordial spirit was dissipating. He felt that he was about to leave this world, and his memories were getting blurry. After all, he could barely be called an immortal king. He had sacrificed too much in this battle, and used up all his trump cards. He was even injured by the black-clothed woman from the reincarnation emperor tribe. He wanted to defy the heavens and survive, but he could not move in the end. Su Yan, hang in there. Don't despair. Tai Baokai and the others cried out in grief and indignation. They recalled how domineering he was in the Dharch battlefield. Now, Su Yan was close to death, and there was no medicine to save him. Even the emperor's origin could not heal his injuries. One could imagine how difficult it was for him. Suddenly, the sound of a baby crying came from the pitch-black world of the burial heaven sea. Su Yan's mind tensed up, and he seemed to have regained his vitality. In a stone hall, Mu Xian hugged a baby in swaddling clothes. She was still crying, and she said excitedly to Su Yan, "It's a boy, it's a boy. Su Yan, you have a successor. Su Yan, you must stand up." East Demon shouted, and tears welled up in his eyes. Mu Xian carried the baby to Su Yan. The baby was fair and clean, and his nose and eyes were very similar to Bamboo Moon's. He was crying. When he noticed Su Yan, who was covered in blood, the baby looked at him curiously and stopped crying. The space-time emperor tapped his finger on the baby's forehead. His entire body shone, and he was like a small, concentrated sea of stars. He was hazy, and he spat out light on his own. He looked extremely divine. Ha 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 ha, Su Yan laughed and tears flowed down his face. He wanted to touch the baby, but he no longer had the strength to do so. The baby did not inherit his bloodline. He only inherited Su Yan's constitution. However, this was what Su Yan wanted. His bloodline was too domineering, and he did not want his descendants to have it. He did not want his future to be shrouded in mystery. Chapter 2086. The baby's potential was very strong, and he would definitely achieve great things in the future. Big Goldie rubbed his hands excitedly. A little seedling could completely inherit the inheritance of the sky-burying cave and cultivate the human sovereign scripture. He would definitely be a dragon among men in the human world in the future. Although this child's constitution was inherited from Su Yan, it was somewhat different. There were many theories about the strongest constitution in the human world. Some said it was the sky-burying body, some said it was the sky-burying body, and some said it was the celestial constitution. In fact, no matter how these constitutions were changed, they all originated from the same constitution. My child. Su Yan's laughter became weaker and weaker. In the end, the light in his eyes was greatly reduced, and even the light of the primordial spirit leaked out from his forehead. It was like a strange energy-light rain, and it was about to disappear between heaven and earth. Su Yan. The soldiers all over the sky roared, and their bodies trembled as they shouted loudly. Could it be that in the end, Su Yan couldn't survive and could only face a reality that they didn't want to accept? Tai Baokai and the others roared angrily. Su Yan's vitality was dissipating, and even his primordial spirit was scattering. Was he really going to die completely? Su Yan, husband, Bamboo Moon rushed out of the stone hall weakly, and tears rolled down her face. She threw herself at Su Yan's cold body and cried bitterly. Her heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. Su Yan, don't go, Bamboo Moon called out. Her starry eyes were red, and her delicate body was trembling. She didn't dare to imagine, accept, or believe that Su Yan would fall. He had survived so many life and death dangers, so many death tribulations, and even the immortal Devil Great War and the Emperor battle. She didn't believe that Su Yan would leave her. Wah wah! The baby shouted at Su Yan and looked around curiously. He didn't understand what was going on. What did a newborn baby know? But many people were crying, and the baby also cried. Mu Xian wiped away her tears and took the baby back to the stone hall. She hid inside and cried bitterly. Could Su Yan's life come back? The spirit's sovereign emperor sighed. There was no turning back. The three great monarchs had tried everything, but they still couldn't help Su Yan rebuild his vitality. Was there really any hope? Don't cry, Su Yan still had his last breath. He tried many ways to get out of this dangerous situation, but to no avail. To Su Yan's disbelief, he even discovered that the 33-layered heaven-burying caves seemed to be fusing with his flesh and blood. What was happening to his body? Even if the weapon had fused with his body, he shouldn't have ended up like this, right? Su Yan looked at Bamboo Moon quietly. He didn't have much regret in his heart. He had a beautiful wife and a son. Although he couldn't accompany his child as he grew up, Su Yan was already very satisfied at this moment. Bamboo Moon held back her tears and looked at Su Yan. She hugged him and gritted her teeth. One. At this time, the Space-Time Emperor waved his hand and a powerful space-time imprisonment energy appeared. It locked down the light of Su Yan's primordial spirit that was leaking out of his forehead. Vaguely, there was also an extremely tyrannical order leaking out. The Space-Time Emperor's eyes were blood-red. This was the killing intent of the black-clothed woman. This was the power that was causing Su Yan's primordial spirit to wither away. That bitch, it's all because of that bitch. The old azure dragon roared uncontrollably. An existence that could be invincible in the future, an existence that could rise up and contend against the dark world in the future, and even an existence that had hopes of ruling the immortal world. She had left them just like this. This made the old azure dragon incomparably sad. The Heavenly Power King and the others were also unwilling to accept such a cruel reality. Because it was too sudden. How could this be? Even the Emperor's origin couldn't extend Su Yan's life. The most important thing was that his primordial spirit was injured. Even if the body was destroyed, it could be rebuilt. However, the primordial spirit was self-destructing. This was too serious. The Space-Time Emperor could only collect the soul power leaking out of Su Yan's primordial spirit, but he couldn't help Su Yan reconstruct his primordial spirit. If this continued, Su Yan would die without a doubt. It was the Space-Time Emperor who swore that no matter what happened in the future, he would destroy them, kill them. The Space-Time Emperor roared in grief. His body trembled as he roared. It's all my fault. If I didn't let Su Yan be my disciple, if I didn't take care of him, he wouldn't have gone to the titled Emperor battlefield in a rage. The Space-Time Emperor was heartbroken. In the end, Su Yan had fallen under the attack of the Immortal World's Emperor clan. He didn't die on the Immortal Demon battlefield, but in the Immortal World. The Space-Time Emperor couldn't accept this. He swore that when he became the strongest emperor in the future, he would destroy them. I don't believe that Su Yan couldn't hold on. There must be another chance. The Tai Baokai roared. He had broken through so many life and death situations. How could he die in the middle of a breakthrough? The East Demon roared in pain. 3 great emperors here couldn't save Su Yan's life. He really couldn't come back. Dao Shui, who was recuperating, sighed faintly. If only Big Brother was fine. With his heaven-stealing art, he might be able to reconstruct Su Yan's dissipated primordial spirit. Child, what are you doing? The Space-Time Emperor's eyes were blood-red. He saw that Su Yan was using what was left of his primordial spirit to carve something. I want to leave something behind. Su Yan's words made Bamboo Moon cry. You're injured like this, don't mess around. I want to leave something behind for our child. Su Yan smiled at Bamboo Moon and said, just treat it as a gift. Bamboo Moon's heart ached. She was inconsolable. Master, I need your strength to fulfill my wish. Su Yan said softly. He didn't have much time left and wanted to leave behind a series of scriptures. Good, good. The Space-Time Emperor clenched his fists. He communicated with Su Yan mentally. Su Yan wanted to leave behind the human emperor scripture for his son. He also wanted to leave behind the heaven-opening reincarnation scripture and the heaven-opening immortal scripture. As for the heaven-opening emperor scripture, there was the most primitive ancient book. Boom. At this moment, the small stone pagoda rushed inside. The pagoda was charred black with many cracks. It opened its mouth and spat out a pile of ruined bones. The mysterious skeleton was once again heavily injured. It was originally in a ruined state, but now most of it was cracked. The primordial spirit flame was rather dim. Su Yan's primordial spirit is about to collapse? The mysterious skeleton cried out in alarm. It saw Su Yan's primordial spirit light leaking out and couldn't stop it. They paid a great price to attack the reincarnation Emperor clan precisely to buy them time to retreat. Why did they suffer such irreversible injuries? Her big brother's body was ruined. This made Dao Shi sigh. His body was completely destroyed, and there was already no chance for him to wake up again. Was their only hope also extinguished? Master, is there no other way? Fairy Zixia asked. Su Yan's body was ruined and blood flowed continuously. His spiritual will had disappeared, and it was as if he had become an empty shell. This was extremely terrifying. His primordial spirit was continuously being destroyed. Perhaps we can find a complete stock of Emperor medicine. At this moment, the spirit's sovereign emperor said in a low voice, Su Yan's body definitely has a great problem. If we can find a complete stock of emperor medicine to protect his primordial spirit, there will definitely be a great chance for him to stand up again. The old azure dragon shook his head. Emperor medicines were hard to obtain in the first place. There were only a few stocks in the immortal world. Even if there really was someone who would trade with them, there was no hope in attacking. It was to the extent where before they found a complete stock of emperor medicine, they had to protect Su Yan's true fate from being destroyed. However, time was too limited. Su Yan could only hold on for 1 or 2 days. Rumble. At this moment, the buried heaven sea shook violently. One after another, figures with terrifying auras arrived. Bastards! The space-time emperor was furious. They were still attacking the buried heaven sea at this time, yet they could not wait to kill them. This was ruthless. Kacha! One after another, huge palms surrounded by Emperor Dao laws appeared. They were boundless and majestic, and in an instant, the outer regions of the buried heaven sea were opened. A group of old monsters from the 3 emperor clans had arrived. Their auras were extremely terrifying. They held emperor weapons and emitted bone-chilling, killing intent. A total of 10 terrifying old monsters had arrived. Their cold eyes shot out killing intent as they stared at the space-time emperor and the others who were hiding in the depths. At the same time, they also saw the ruined body of Su Yan. This little bastard, is he dead? It's good that he's dead. What's hateful is that we can't kill him with our own hands. Entrenched in the group of old giants in the outer regions of the buried heaven sea laughed heartily. They were all giants with extraordinary means. How could they not see Su Yan's state? The light of his essence spirit was leaking out. This was the end of his life. No one could save him. Old thing, if Su Yan died so easily, he would not be Su Yan. Baokai roared. The immortal demon battlefield's arena has been set up again. How are the immortal world's emperor clans going to deal with it? When my brother recovers from his injuries, he will watch from the sidelines. Haha, don't lie to yourself and others. Su Yan, who can barely be called an immortal king, has unleashed such heaven-defying combat strength. It would be intolerable if he did not die. It's a pity that such a person would fall right after becoming an emperor. What a pity! The dozen old giants laughed. The moment they released their auras, the buried heaven sea roared violently. Boom! A pitch-black rune bloomed. This land of death was also in its strongest state. It released the majestic buried heaven field layout, resisting the danger of destruction. It's useless. The entire immortal world will cooperate with us to exterminate the demons and the traitors of the celestial court. The old giants roared one after another. Su Yan was about to fall. They breathed a sigh of relief. The main purpose of this trip was to eliminate Su Yan. You bastards, do you really think that the world left behind by Bury the Heavens is so easy to break? Big Goldie rebuked angrily. When the heavens were at their strongest, none of the 3 emperor clans were strong enough. You old things still want to break through? Stop dreaming. Why don't you take a look at this lineup? An old monster from the Immortals let out a loud roar. The sea region faintly shook violently, and the heaven burial aura that filled the sky exploded. It wanted to roar into the depths of the world and shatter Su Yan's remnant body to vent its anger. Kill, the space-time emperor and the others roared at the sky. Their bodies emitted a monstrous killing intent. Live or die together. The soldiers in the sky roared. This was an army of tens of millions, close to 100 million. Once they joined forces, it would definitely be a flood that could sweep through any battlefield. You traitors, you still don't know how to repent. What's the use of hiding here? None of you will survive. Those who follow us will prosper, and those who oppose us will perish. The era of the Immortal Institute has ended. We will not tolerate any traitors. All of you must die. These old giants laughed happily. The Shinkong race emperor sighed. A new era was about to begin. A new situation was about to appear in the immortal world. Who is it? The Shinkong race emperor didn't have time to think about the future. His expression suddenly changed. The ominous feeling from before was growing stronger. Until now, that ominous feeling had suddenly become countless times stronger. He trembled, feeling the shadow of death looming over him. He raised his head and looked at the top of the sky. He could vaguely see the shadow of a huge beast coming along the long river of time and space. It was clearly millions of miles away, but the Shinkong race emperor still felt his scalp go numb. Who are you? The Shinkong race emperor asked. The old experts who were attacking Heaven Burial Cave clearly saw this as well. It's you. The black beast's expression was cold. It emitted the light of purgatory. It stared at him with an unkind gaze and shouted, "You little thing, you blocked this king's return. Why haven't you come and accepted your punishment yet?" The experts of the Xian people almost exploded with anger. What the hell? Coming to convict the Shinkong race emperor? Did he know whose friend he was? He was the most loyal friend of the 3 emperor clans. Who dared to ask him to come and accept his punishment? You. The Shinkong race emperor pointed at him. This premonition had appeared once before, when Emperor City sealed the great good fortune. Could it be that there was already great karma involved at that time? The old freaks of the 3 emperor clans were stupefied. The monarch who controlled the emperor clans, the Shinkong race emperor, fled. He fled frantically, not even looking back. This was simply unimaginable. What kind of existence had just appeared and directly scared the Shinkong race emperor away? The black beast felt disdain. A little fake emperor wants to escape? You are insulting this king. Chapter 2087. Its enormous body was covered in dense black hair and flowing with the light of purgatory. Even though it was millions and millions of miles away, it still shocked the hearts of those who saw it. No one knew where it stood. The dark beast shadow stepped through the long river of time and space. The moment it reached this area, it did not seem to be in this dimension. It seemed to be entrenched in the great world beyond the heavens. Its body gradually became clear. It was a huge tiger, but its silhouette was somewhat indistinct. Its body was covered in blood. It looked quite fierce, but no one could see how strong it was. It gave off an unfathomable feeling. Which race is this expert from? This was especially true for the reincarnation lineage. Several of the old giants' expressions were cold. This black tiger was like an eternal abyss of reincarnation. It made their hearts palpitate and gave them the misconception that they were no match for it. However, this starry sky emperor was clearly not a member of the celestial court. It was not a mysterious giant who had come to interfere in this battle. The old giants here all knew that there were many old hermits in the immortal world. They had lived for countless years and their lifespans were unimaginable. They were not to be trifled with. But now, the Starry Sky Emperor had directly fled. This shocked them. What was going on? Could this old giant's background be so great that it was unimaginable? He had actually scared away the Starry Sky Emperor. However, what made them feel as if they were facing a great enemy was that it was not an old giant who had come. There was also a purple beast shadow that had crossed the universe and arrived here. It was like a purple sun hanging in the sky, radiating dazzling divine splendor. It was impossible to see its exact silhouette. If the black tiger was unfathomable, then this purple beast shadow was peerlessly powerful. This made the old giants inexplicably shocked. This combination was somewhat powerful. Could it be that they had a grudge against the Starry Sky Emperor lineage? Where do you think you're going? The black tiger was angry. The moment its tail swayed, the universe trembled. The moment an extremely terrifying heavenly might bloomed, it pierced through the great universe and rushed toward the Starry Sky Emperor in a flash. After all, it was very angry. It could have smoothly crossed the land of death without encountering danger to the immortal world. In the end, because of this group of people's suppression, it had almost taken the wrong path and almost encountered a great disaster. This was a great karma that had to be settled. However, the Starry Sky Emperor had directly fled. What was this? Who is it? The old giant's expression changed greatly. A tail pierced through the great universe and rapidly enlarged, endlessly pressing toward the Starry Sky Emperor. Let's talk. The Starry Sky Monarch had a headache. He felt that he couldn't escape and didn't know what kind of karma he was shouldering. He quickly said, "I'm the current Monarch Lord of the Starry Sky Monarch race. I don't understand what kind of karma is involved with Tao brother. What Starry Sky Monarch clan? I've never heard of it." The large black tiger spoke in a low voice. Its enormous figure was like an enormous black mountain ridge, standing at the peak of the heavens. It spoke with ill intent, however. "Dealing with you is a bit like bullying the weak. Now I'll give you a chance. If you can break my Tao technique, I can consider sparing your life." In fact, it did not know that the Celestial Court was related to this group of people, otherwise it would not have been so merciful. The expressions of the group of old giants became uncertain. His tone was too arrogant. Just what kind of background did this person have? Could it be that he was an ancient monster that couldn't be tested? The experts from the three Thearchs clans didn't dare to speak for a moment, but they were immediately frightened by the black tiger's means. As its chest breathed in and out, the entire star domain became endlessly gloomy. It was as if, as it breathed in and out, the great worlds in the heavens would shake along with it. Even space and time were trembling, about to give birth to a situation where the great Tao collapsed. Roar! The large black tiger roared fiercely, and a breath rushed out from its chest, splattering out from its mouth and nose. A mass of black air instantly cut off space and time, and swept towards the Starry Sky Emperor. The Starry Sky Emperor almost went crazy, and his eyes were about to split open. What kind of expert was he? He was the dignified Starry Sky Emperor clan's monarch. Now, this unknown giant beast wanted to suppress him with a breath of air. This was simply insane. The group of old antiques were horrified. They did not think that an expert of the same level as them would use such means to humiliate the Starry Sky Emperor. Either it was using some kind of special technique, or this mysterious giant beast's Tao technique was unfathomable, and it was an ancient antique that had lived through the ages and legends. Kill! The Starry Sky Emperor roared. How could he willingly be humiliated? His body instantly blazed to the extreme, and Emperor Tao laws flowed, outlining an extremely grand and ancient star domain world. He stood in the middle, and was as imposing as the king of the star domain. Who would doubt the Starry Sky Emperor? Because of the bloody battle in the imperial city, emperors fell one after another, causing the whole world to question and underestimate the battle prowess of emperors. However, the terror of this domain was undeniable. The group of immortal kings from the three emperor clans were terrified. Could it be that such a terrifying existence could be killed with a single breath? Boom! A stream of air tore through space and time, and the sky was filled with fragments of great Tao. When the purple beast saw this black airstream, it instantly felt a chill. Uncle Black was boasting again. It understood that no matter where it went, it would show off. It looked at the buried heaven sea and felt astonished. It had a keen intuition that this land of death was very terrifying. It was definitely comparable to the strongest land of death they had encountered before. It seemed that the giants of the immortal world could not be ignored. They had shocking foundations. The starry sky emperor charged over, waving his fist to destroy this air stream. Boom! In an instant, the black air stream changed, whistling with radiance, as if it had turned into a reincarnation sea, a reincarnation vortex, and a reincarnation river in front of it. In an instant, the expressions of the old giants of the reincarnation emperor clan changed drastically. What kind of existence was this? Its mastery of reincarnation was unfathomable. This breath looked small, but it actually enveloped the starry sky emperor. Although he still looked boundless, the instant he was caught in this airstream, it was as if he had fallen into a sea of time and space. He roared loudly, his body shining, erupting with boundless power, about to collapse the sea of time and space. However, no matter how fast the starry sky emperor was, he could not break through the sea of time and space. Suddenly, he could cross millions and millions of miles in an instant, but this sea of time and space was boundless. The group of old giants cried out in alarm, becoming more and more shocked. The starry sky emperor's body was shrinking. This was the Tao technique displayed by the huge black beast, too supreme. It was as if he had crashed into the long river of history, unable to struggle free. The group of experts that came felt their hair stand on end, feeling that something was wrong. They quickly retreated, not wanting to get involved. The experts of the three emperor clans naturally could not leave. Otherwise, with their formation, they would be laughed at. Bastard! The starry sky emperor cried out mournfully, feeling that this huge black beast was too evil, deliberately making him lose face. In an instant, the myriad star bead on his wrist revived. It was incomparably terrifying, as if millions and millions of cosmic stars were sprinkled down, reconstructing the sea of stars in the sky. This was the strongest cardinal treasure, the clan-guarding cardinal treasure of the starry sky emperor clan. When it erupted in an instant, it was about to collapse the flood of history. Impudent, this king has already given you a chance, and you still dare to use a cardinal treasure to resist. The big black tiger's eyes immediately widened. He opened his mouth and spat out a black divine furnace, which crashed into the flood of history it had evolved. The divine furnace suddenly became extremely resplendent. This furnace was a little scary, and millions of images of huge beasts appeared on the furnace's body. Moreover, the instant the black divine furnace erupted, an incomparably terrifying chi rushed out from within, as if it contained one after another the universe of death, causing the heavenly star bead to tremble. Suppress. Although the big black tiger tried his best to maintain a serious expression, he still couldn't help but reveal a trace of a treacherous smile. He grinned. This cardinal treasure was very powerful and peerless. If it was suppressed and taken away, it would be a great harvest. Ah, my heavenly star bead! The starry sky emperor let out a mournful cry. His race's strongest cardinal treasure, millions and millions of universe stars trembled. It couldn't withstand the order of the universe destruction that was erupting from the black divine furnace and was suppressed alive. It was even swallowed into the black divine furnace. How is this possible? The old big shots of the three Thearchs clans were trembling. This was their strongest cardinal treasure, the heavenly star bead, and it was actually swallowed by the black furnace. Bastard, return my cardinal treasure! The starry sky emperor's eyes were wide open in anger. This was his race's guarding cardinal treasure. Once it was lost, the consequences would be unimaginable. Impudent, how dare you be disrespectful to this king? The black ferocious beast was enraged. The air flow that it spewed out was changing. In an instant it became a lot more terrifying. Time and space were disintegrated, and the vast light of time flowed out, revealing the majestic reincarnation gate. The starry sky emperor let out a miserable cry and frantically resisted. This was because he felt that he was going to be swallowed, fall into the ancient past, and return to the ancient past. This kind of Tao art was unimaginable and unfathomable. This was definitely an old demon with great achievements. The starry sky emperor's body was sometimes as small as a speck of dust, sometimes as large as a star, sometimes as a child, and sometimes as an old man. The group of old giants were all stupefied. This type of profound laws was simply something that could travel through the endless river of time. Not even emperor-level experts could withstand it. The purple Qilin sighed. They crossed the burial emperor vile earth, encountering all types of great dangers. These were all unmatched great profound mysteries they comprehended while facing death, fighting against time, fighting against time. Puff! The starry sky emperor coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. His body felt like it was about to split apart, and he was in so much pain that he wished he was dead. He was about to die here. His liver and guts were about to split apart. In the end, he decided to beg for forgiveness. This wasn't shameful at all. Who asked the enormous black beast to be so terrifying? Your attitude isn't bad, the black beast said in a deep voice. I've just arrived in the celestial realm, and I'm still lacking a servant to serve me. I think you'll be the one. What did you say? The starry sky emperor almost spat out a mouthful of blood. A dignified monarch of a monarch race had been reduced to a servant under this creature? If this spread out, even the starry sky emperor's primogenitor would not be able to bear it. Fellow Taoist, where it's possible to make mistakes, one should spare them. An old giant from the celestial race walked over and greeted. Fellow Taoist, have you just arrived in the celestial realm? Please forgive my ignorance. Could it be that fellow Taoist doesn't belong to the three realms space-time? The group of immortal kings trembled, feeling alarmed. Only a few of the old giants were able to suppress them. The things they understood weren't something ordinary giants could imagine. In an extremely distant era, the three realms were the outerverse, and there were also unfathomable old monsters beyond the heavens. However, ever since the order of the three realms became chaotic, a great calamity was born in the outer space-time, and existences from the outer space could no longer be found. It was rumored that they had all fallen in the calamity. Now, with the Black King's strength, they couldn't help but doubt it. The old giant from the celestial race was solemn. If it really came from the outer space, they had to befriend it. It was completely possible for it to become an honored guest of their race. The Xian people and the experts of the reincarnation emperor race also instantly reacted. They all went forward to greet it, calling it fellow Taoist, full of etiquette. There were also immortal kings who prepared to leave to inform their families. This servant of mine is involved in a great matter of karma with me. I have to suppress it. The huge black beast wasn't that easy to talk to. This starry sky emperor was really flustered and exasperated, but it was sealed in the torrent, unable to say a single word. In the heaven burial sea, the Phoenix King and the others were puzzled. Had it stopped? The space-time emperor waved his large hand, and the scene of the outside world was imprinted. However, there was a huge black beast so terrifying that even his space-time profound mysteries were ineffective. On the other hand, a callous purple Qilin whose body was dyed in blood appeared before their eyes. Its origins were unknown. It was very clear that the purple Qilin's cold gaze was focused on the heaven burial sea, and it discovered that someone was secretly spying on it. Boom! The small stone pagoda rumbled, trembling in excitement. Uncle Little Purple. Dao Shi's hands trembled slightly, and then she stared at a blurry black beast figure that couldn't be seen clearly. She suddenly stood up. Could it be that Grandpa Black had returned? Chapter 2088. Roar! The starry sky emperor roared, and the stars in his body surged, swallowing an extremely powerful energy. His emperor's origin shot out from the top of his head and ignited with a rumble, causing his aura to become stronger. The space-time emperor was stunned. What was going on? He used his space-time technique to project the scene of the outside world. He saw the starry sky emperor being suppressed, and the purple Qilin and the black blurry silhouette. Where did these two terrifying beings come from? But no matter what, the starry sky emperor was suppressed. This shocked the old azure dragon. A law of order seemed to be deducing the past, present, and future. Suddenly, the starry sky emperor was fighting with his life on the line, but he couldn't kill his way out or break free. He was about to go mad with anger. The emperor of a clan was being suppressed and even taken in as a servant. This made the starry sky emperor want to commit suicide. Brat, you're not convinced? The huge and blurry silhouette rippled with matchless ferocity. Its entire body was covered in purgatory radiance. In fact, his black king furnace had taken away the heavenly star bead, which was enough to sever the karma between them. This was one of the most powerful treasures in the world. Even in the entire three realms, the materials needed to refine this item were too harsh. Although it couldn't compare to the Black King furnace that he had spent millions of years refining, it had to be said that the heavenly star bead was the most supreme treasure in the world. The more terrifying a giant was, the more they valued karma. But the starry sky emperor was not convinced. This made the being above the 9 heavens furious, causing the entire spacetime to tremble. The environment here was extremely dark and as if an unparalleled demon god was descending upon the world. PFFF. The starry sky emperor screamed miserably as his body and mind were torn apart. He had never been humiliated like this before. In front of the Black King, he was like a child. He could only tremble in fear, powerless to resist. The experts of the 3 emperor clans lost their composure. This person's cultivation was too ridiculous, and even the old giants present felt their hearts palpitate. An expert from the reincarnation emperor race walked out. He took a deep breath and walked up with a smile. Dao brother, I am an expert from the reincarnation emperor race. Dao brother's supreme law profundity is somewhat similar to our reincarnation emperor race. Perhaps we have the same origin. Without a doubt, such an invincible giant had to be roped in and established a good relationship with him. Who knew, he might be able to further understand the bloody history of the ancient era. Reincarnation Emperor Race. 2 beams of cold light shot out from Dahei's eyes as he stared at the old giant. The old giant shivered indescribably. He had a premonition that something wasn't right. This terrifying creature's expression was extremely unkind. This made his heart skip a beat. Could it be that this Chi had some kind of grudge with the Reincarnation Emperor clan? Brother, you're... The old giant panicked. Who has the same origin as you? Don't flatter yourself. In an instant, the old head of the Reincarnation Imperial family was horrified. He only felt that the huge black silhouette that occupied the peak of the 9 heavens had suddenly crossed the river of time. It was like a prehistoric giant beast galloping through the vast sky of history. With a single move, the old head of the Reincarnation Imperial clan trembled and almost fell to the ground. His heart was filled with horror, even the vertical eye between his brows malfunctioning, completely unable to see where this unmatched existence was standing. He only felt as if the great river of time was crammed into him, grasping his fate. The expressions of the 3 Thearch's clansmen were uncertain. Something wasn't right. This living being harbored ill intentions towards them. Boom. It was also at this moment that the buried heaven sea suddenly split open, and a woman with fluttering sleeves walked out. Her face looked very pale, and when she looked at the purple Qilin and the big black tiger that occupied the peak of the sky, her expression was agitated. Demonis, you actually dare to come out! The experts of the three Thearch's clansmen were furious, but they looked at the Dao Shi with some fear. This person had a terrifying life chart protecting her body, and she couldn't be easily threatened. Roar! The silent purple Qilin let out a loud roar, and its aura instantly became terrifying. The first roar was completely emitted from the excitement in its heart. The moment the second roar exploded, the sky exploded, and the heavens were simply bleeding. The boundless order of the great Tao was being shattered. It was like an unrivaled war god that had severed the shackles, instantly becoming terrifying to the extreme. The purple Qi that filled the sky surged like millions upon millions of tsunamis, covering 10 to 20% of the immortal world's territory. Moreover, it continued to spread and be vast and mighty, as if the entire immortal world was shaking. This was very terrifying, very unequaled, and could be called an unrivaled war immortal. It was mighty to the extreme, and the majestic Qi and blood in its body transformed into the light of war, slaughtering the order. It was frighteningly violent, and a huge bloody hole appeared in the sky, indicating the beginning of a great calamity. Honglong, that old big shot of the celestial race who berated the Dao Shi, felt a chill run down his spine. It was as if he saw the return of the unrivaled war god that crossed the buried Emperor Vile Earth. The purple Qilin's instant attack caused the entire spacetime to disintegrate. It slaughtered its way over, and its speed was too fast. In fact, as powerful as it was, as bold and powerful as this Qilin that had experienced countless life and death situations, in an instant, it could defy the heavens and eliminate experts of the same generation. After all, its past experiences were too cruel. Ah! The old big shot of the celestial race cried out in despair. He didn't have the time to react or make a move before he was suppressed in an instant. The purple Qilin descended from the sky, and its huge hoof stomped on his chest, causing his body to tremble violently. Blood flowed unceasingly, and he was about to die. Not good. Large amounts of experts trembled. What kind of situation was this? This purple Qilin suddenly attacked. The power it erupted with was too tyrannical. The old big shot of the celestial race found it difficult to contend against it. He was instantly suppressed, howling in grief in a pool of blood. Who are you talking about? The purple Qilin roared. The descendant of the celestial court's master was called a witch? Aye. This old big shot almost went crazy. Could it be that they came from the celestial court? Could it be that the great celestial court army that had entered the buried Emperor Vile Earth really returned? Honglong. In that instant, the body of the old big shot of the celestial race exploded. Crazy! The entire world was trembling. Emperors were falling, filling the sky with blood. It surged upwards, dyeing this shattered sky red. The experts from the three emperor clans couldn't help but tremble. A trifling fake emperor dares to humiliate my celestial court. The purple Qilin roared angrily. It had an ominous premonition. Something big must have happened. To it, only those who had formed their own emperor physique could be called emperors. These old big shots only relied on the origin laws of the celestial world, growing and strengthening with the environment of the celestial world, barely becoming emperors. But they weren't true emperors. Of course, there were true emperors in the celestial world, but they were very few and limited. Those who grasped the emperor's fate could be called emperors in the celestial world, but not outside. Swish, swish, in that instant, this region went berserk. The old big shots from the three emperor clans retreated one after another, crossing time and space in the distance at an extremely fast speed. Things were getting serious. The celestial court's people had come, and they were extremely powerful. Once the two supreme beings went crazy, they wouldn't be able to live. Hence, they could only choose to flee. What's going on? In the distant world, many experts from the great sects came, as well as the rulers of the Emperor clans. They maintained a neutral stance, coming to watch the battle and see what buried realm was like. What was it like? But the ridiculous sudden change shocked their hearts and minds. The Starry Sky Emperor was suppressed, and an old big shot of the celestial race was killed. I vaguely heard the celestial court. Someone trembled, and his hair stood on end. He said in horror, "The celestial court's people are here to settle things. Something big is going to happen. The celestial world is going to change." "Where do you think you're going?" The purple Qilin roared, revealing a monstrous, ferocious aura. Its body instantly became boundlessly huge, and it was unknown how many tens of thousands of feet tall. It released terrifying essence blood, piercing through time and space, drowning the boundless world. "Kill!" The purple Qilin roared, and its large claws reached out, covering the group of old big shots who were fleeing. Like an eagle catching a chick, it instantly tore the top of their heads, and their bodies were torn into pieces. At the same time, the black beast roared angrily, and the chi and blood that leaked out of its pores contained majestic and boundless power, simply shocking the 9 heavens and 10 earths. It opened its mouth and spat out a black torrent, which burned the sea of laws, intertwined with the cycle of life and death, and deduced the passage of time. It was so profound that the environment in front of it was infinitely rewritten. No matter how fast the experts of the 3 emperor families were, it would be difficult for them to be faster than them. After tens of millions of years of bloody battles and tempering themselves in various perilous lands, they had long transformed. Once they went berserk, the heavens and earth would shatter, and the emperors of the celestial world would fall and die. The heavens and earth exploded, and the world in front of them was dazzling, so dazzling that it made their eyes bleed. There were screams, the sound of bones cracking, and tragic wails. Time and space were bleeding. This was a terrifying and bloody event. There were emperors falling and old big shots declining. Roar! In an instant there was a series of beast-like roars. The old big shots of the Xian people spat out their essence blood, and awakened the unparalleled killing weapon that was in a deep slumber. The immortal Emperor Seal was awakened, and this murderous world of laws and order instantly disintegrated. The boundlessly powerful seal revealed the might of a supreme treasure. The moment the old big shots worked together to activate this great seal, a figure entrenched on the seal like a supreme immortal emperor looking down on the celestial world. What a treasure! I'm going to be rich today. The Black King roared, and his eyes widened. The Black King cauldron was instantly revived. This cauldron could be said to be the end of the world. The black cauldron glowed and spewed out ridiculous scenes of the universe being destroyed one after another. This Black King cauldron had paid a huge price and gone through endless hardship. It was dug out from rare immortal materials and spent tens of millions of years to finally take shape. Once this cauldron was awakened, it would swallow the universe and collide with the immortal Emperor Seal, causing the seal to tremble. Moreover, the mouth of the cauldron spewed out terrifying light as it shook. Torrents came one after another, pushing open the pitch-black universe and swallowing the immortal Emperor Seal. Ah! The 3 old big shots of the Xian people screamed. Even though they were separated by the immortal Emperor Seal, they still felt the threat of death. The matter spewed out from the cauldron was too frightening. There were formed death drains, a complete universe of destruction, and a faintly discernible river of time. In short, when the apocalyptic disaster flowed down, the body of one of the old big shots was torn apart and completely disintegrated. The 2 old big shots of the Xian people trembled in fear. The 2 experts worked together to push the torn emperor body into the purest source of energy and injected it into the immortal Emperor's seal. In an instant, the immortal Emperor's seal changed. It vaguely formed a blood-stained skeletal hand, revealing the power of great destruction. Chapter 2089. The purple Qilin was shocked. This blood-stained skeletal hand was terrifying. Even the apocalyptic calamity from the Black King cauldron was rumbling and shaking. The faintly intertwined laws and orders were about to disintegrate and collapse. This was a little scary. This bleeding skeletal hand was resisting the Black King Cauldron's power and was attacking it. How dare a piece of broken bone target me? Blackie was furious. A power that could distort time and space gushed out from its body and penetrated the Black King Cauldron. The cauldron's power soared and shot out images of the destruction of the 3,000 great cosmoses. It was so terrifying that it could destroy the world. There was a terrifying collision. The black cauldron and the bleeding skeletal hand collided, giving rise to a destructive tide. It was as if an apocalyptic mushroom cloud had bloomed and destroyed the outerverse in an instant. The two old leaders of the Cien people, who had the imprint of the Celestial Emperor, cried out in fear. Their bodies were being torn apart. They couldn't withstand it. This kind of battle wasn't something they could participate in. Even if they had the imprint of the Celestial Emperor, they couldn't withstand the apocalyptic calamity. The experts who were watching from afar were shocked. The two old leaders of the Cien people exploded. This was too terrifying. The moment the supreme treasure collided, the old leaders of the Cien people died. The world was covered in blood. There were cruel visions of the heavens collapsing and the earth splitting apart. It was about to tear apart the river of time. Suppress! Blackie roared. He activated the Black King Cauldron and swallowed the bleeding skeletal hand. However, he underestimated this bleeding skeletal hand. It was derived from his will and caused the 3,000 great cosmoses to rumble and tremble. It tore open a huge crack and started to return to the world of the Cien people. "Where are you going?" Blackie roared. Once he subdued this treasure and refined it into his Black King Cauldron, it would definitely cause the Black King Cauldron's quality to soar. This was a great opportunity that he had to seize. "Grandpa Blackie, don't go. Come back," Dao Shi called out. It wasn't the time for a great battle yet. With the Black King's strength, he could definitely find a way to save Su Yan's life. "Little Tong, what happened all these years?" The purple Qilin returned and asked hurriedly. Dao Shuyi was not only the descendant of the master of the Celestial Court, but also accompanied the Celestial Emperor all year round. People in the outside world all thought that Dao Shuyi was the Celestial Emperor's attendant. In fact, they did not know that she was the Celestial Emperor's most beloved descendant. "Let's talk about this another time. Grandpa He, there's someone who needs your help." The big black tiger cursed as it returned. It was almost subdued. It shrunk its body and turned into a big black tiger. It followed the Dao Shuyi into the inner world of the Heaven Burial Sea. The purple Qilin was flabbergasted. As it patrolled this sea region, it captured the most powerful heaven-burying symbols. It was inwardly shocked. The one who opened up this dangerous land of life was not an ordinary person, and the life in this place definitely didn't seem to be limited to just one layer of heaven. The two terrifying creatures descended. The Space-Time Emperor and the others sighed in admiration. The Celestial Court's bloodline really did come. As soon as the big black tiger entered this world, it noticed Su Yan. His broken body was stained with blood, and there was a feeling that it could not see through him. The small stone pagoda was especially excited. Its pagoda body bobbed up and down on the big black tiger's head. It really wanted to know what kind of dangers they had experienced during this time to delay their return for such a long time. "I hope Senior can save my husband." Bamboo Moon saw hope. She did not leave Su Yan's side by half a step. She did not believe that he was gone just like that. Su Yan's eyes were lifeless, but there was still some spirit left. The moment he noticed the big black tiger, he felt that it was very familiar. He quickly recalled that he had seen it before on the Eternal Sun. However, Su Yan felt that that should have been its magical body. It was not a real body of flesh and blood. Then now, its main body had returned to the three realms. "Good child, quickly get up." The Black King raised its claws and pulled Bamboo Moon up. Its eyes were fixed on Su Yan from beginning to end. The entire Heaven Burial Sea region was quiet. Then, the big black tiger's eyes blazed with boundless brilliance. Profound laws of order interweaved in its eyes as if they were forming a majestic reincarnation river of life and death. Under the observation of its beast eyes, Su Yan's body underwent some kind of terrifying mutation. This is... Then, the big black tiger's heart trembled. It vaguely discovered that Su Yan's body seemed to have changed, as if it had turned into a 9-colored heavenly embryo. So it's this child, the big black tiger muttered. The 9-colored heavenly embryo nurtured at the peak of the heaven burial cave of the 33 heavens. However, this heavenly embryo had clearly encountered a great disaster and was not complete. The big black tiger's heart was heavy. Something big had happened in the celestial court. The heavenly embryo was guarded by the experts of the celestial court. Since the heavenly embryo had given birth to a great disaster, it meant that the human realm had been invaded by the immortal realm or the dark realm. Since arriving here, the big black tiger had not seen many familiar faces. This made it feel ominous and even terrified. Could their escape route have been destroyed? For a long time, they had been isolated from the world and trapped in a land of death. It had been very difficult for them to return. It was only when Su Yan was crowned emperor that the immortal realm gave birth to great fortune and auspicious signs that they had found a way to return. Grandpa Black, don't worry. Dao Shi sighed and said, "A million years ago, the Celestial Court's army set out on an expedition. Before they left, they tore down the entire Xianhuang universe, leaving only a limited number of tribes behind." Although it said this, Little Purple let out a low roar of grief and indignation. It could be imagined that the Celestial Court's army had left and that their homeland had encountered misfortune. Back then, in the entire 3 realms, no one dared to humiliate the Celestial Court. The Xianhuang universe had been invaded by the demonic fog because before the Celestial Court's army set out on an expedition, they had torn down more than half of the Xianhuang universe and assembled it into the Supreme Treasure Order, which represented the strength of the Celestial Court's master. After all, the master of the Celestial Court had left, and a series of top leaders of the Celestial Court had also left. The Celestial Court was worried that they would encounter great danger, so they had decided to leave on an expedition. But the serious problem was that they had never met. Purple Qilin didn't find it strange. The outer verse had given birth to a great disaster, and it was extremely difficult to travel. However, the Celestial Court's army had torn down more than half of the Xianhuang universe and taken away 10,000 domains, leaving only 1 domain behind. It was believed that with the supreme strength of the Celestial Emperor, they would not encounter any misfortune. For example, the current celestial world had left behind an ancient world. It could be imagined how powerful the supreme treasure would be after it was torn down and assembled. After all, the Xianhuang universe's prosperity was established by the master of the Celestial Court. There was his law order, and there was an unimaginable strength in the environment. Of course, Dao Shi had discovered a few decades ago that the army that had left on an expedition had shown signs of returning. It must have been because the journey was too difficult, and it would be difficult for them to return in a short time. After all, the human world's environment had been suppressed by the Celestial Emperor. He was worried that the tribes would encounter a disaster after he left. But what he had never expected was that because of the unsolved problems left behind in the Burial Cave era, the Celestial World and the Dark World had joined hands. Purple Qilin was furious after learning about this historical event. Now that they had returned, it would definitely not let it go. Roar! Big Black Tiger roared, and a terrifying light gushed out of its mouth and nose, shining on Su Yan's broken body. It had vaguely captured the aura that had crossed the river of time. It did not belong to the 3 realms, but originated from the origin of the 3 realms. It was so grand that it seemed to represent the return of the Celestial Emperors. Big Black Tiger tried to open up all of this and solve the most fundamental problem for Su Yan. but for some reason, Su Yan, who was fusing with the burial cave, had an indescribable mysterious aura that was uncontrollable. Buzz. Big black tiger. The tiger's beast eyes widened. It noticed the second burial ground's space-time and vaguely caught a glimpse of a land of fortune. Fortune soil. Big black tiger's body shook. If it had been a long time ago, this would have been a resource that they could only dream of. But unfortunately, its use was extremely low now. Purple Qilin was also shocked. The heavens of the human world were not simple giant. They had been outside the three realms and had ventured into the vile earth world. They were well aware of what this fortune soil meant. It was a great fortune that contained the essence of the three realms. But this fortune soil and Su Yan's broken body actually had the same origin. Big Gold Child used a seal to open the second sealed space. But only Su Yan could enter the land of fortune, so Big Gold Child had no way to open it. Dao brother, Su Yan's primordial spirit is losing more and more origin energy. Can you suppress it? Spacetime Emperor took out the light of Su Yan's primordial spirit that had leaked out. This creature's Dao techniques were unfathomable. Perhaps he could find a way. Big Black Tiger opened its mouth and roared, spitting out a black light that spread to Su Yan's forehead. It caused his broken primordial spirit to suddenly blaze. Repeat. At the same time, Big Black Tiger injected the light of Su Yan's primordial spirit into his broken soul. Then, it used a series of terrifying and profound secret arts. Old Azure Dragon wiped away his cold sweat. This world was extremely and dark. The sound of chanting surged. It was as if the vast sky of history was pressing down. It was as if a large hand was reaching down to change Su Yan's fate. Hong Long. Big Black's body was clearly different. It had completely changed. It was as if it had been swallowed into the long river of time and suffered immeasurable calamities for a short period of time. Spirit's sovereign emperor lost his composure. Big Black seemed to have left and didn't belong to this spacetime. It was as if he was roaming the long river of time, enduring the suppression of immeasurable calamities and resisting his heaven-defying actions. The tiger's roar shook the heavens. Even the immeasurable calamities were shaking. Even if Big Black Tiger's combat strength was world-shaking, it still encountered a certain degree of danger. Its body was bleeding, but it was like a heaven-defying being that advanced through the long river of time. It crashed through the great stars of history and completed the final technique in a short period of time. In the next moment, Su Yan's forehead began to shine with a resplendent and blazing light. An illusory and indistinct soul floated in the spacetime. That was Su Yan's primordial spirit. It looked complete and undamaged. Did it succeed? Spacetime Emperor was incomparably excited. Could Su Yan be saved? Big Black Tiger's expression was solemn. He took out his life soul lamp and lit it. We need a complete Soul Emperor medicine. Big Black Tiger said gravely. Which race has a Soul Emperor medicine? Time is limited, and there is no room for delay. At most, I can freeze his soul for 9 days and 9 nights. It is very difficult for me to deal with his physical body. I can throw it into the land of good fortune to nourish itself. However, his primordial spirit is a little tricky. He has swallowed some kind of high-level supreme soul medicine before. If we want to reconstruct him again, we need a complete Soul Emperor medicine. The three great monarch-tiers expressions were solemn. They stood up one by one. Reincarnation Emperor Tribe. Spacetime Emperor sneered. There is an immortal divine Phoenix Emperor medicine. Then let's make a trip. Big Black Tiger and Purple Qilin suppressed their anger. The three great monarch-tiers took a deep breath. The great battle was about to begin. Are you all willing to fight for Su Yan? Spacetime Emperor roared at the soldiers in the sky. This world was changing. After all, the Monkey King's race had all come. The roars of over 100 million soldiers shook the heavens. Kill, kill, kill! The endless army roared. In order to buy time for them, Su Yen could really be said to have died in battle. Now, they were going to fight for Su Yen and seize the Soul Emperor medicine. Since they had decided to betray the celestial world, it was not impossible for them to attack the Emperor tribe. Chapter 2090. Wait for our triumphant return. Big Goldie tossed Su Yan's bleeding body into the second land of creation. Bamboo Moon stared at the spot where Su Yan had fallen. Clear tears flowed down her elegant face as she wept silently. She was slightly terrified as she hugged her sleeping infant. Then, she suddenly smiled through her tears. I'm really looking forward to watching our child grow up. You have to pull yourself together. I still want to have a daughter in the future. Kill and seize the sovereign medicine. Attack the Emperor clans. The densely packed army roared, shaking the heavens and the earth. They charged out of the buried heaven sea, their killing intent surging. They wanted to attack the Emperor clans and seize the sovereign medicine. They wanted to prolong Su Yan's life. Bam! Su Yan fell into the territory covered in 9-colored sand. His blood flowed down from his broken body, dyeing the sand red. He seemed to have returned to his mother's embrace. Su Yan's broken body started to sink. The 9-colored sand completely drowned him. His broken body seemed to have entered an endless state of hibernation. It also seemed to have returned to the origin of life. Su Yan's illusory soul floated in the void. It flowed with a mysterious radiance. He could not even feel the existence of his body. It was as if he had merged with this world, and was about to be completely remolded. Chaos broke out in the immortal world. Blood flowed in many ancient worlds. Bloody incidents occurred. The 3 Emperor clans experts harbored evil intentions as they traveled to the various ancient worlds to investigate the tribes that had rebelled against the immortal world soldiers. Although a large number of tribes had secretly moved away, this time, they wanted to wipe out all 9 tribes. The 3 Emperor clans were the overlords of the immortal world, after all. With a word, they could mobilize the strongest factions of the various ancient worlds to help them. The immortal world was in chaos. The method of wiping out the 9 tribes was cruel. Blood flowed in ancient worlds one after another. Sorrowful cries filled the skies. Is there still law and order? Even the powerful taboo expert was unable to escape. He was grabbed by a giant hand that blotted out the sky and tossed into the prison cart. He screamed in anger, "What crime did I commit? Law and order? From now on, the 3 Emperor clans will be the masters of the immortal world." The 3 Tharch clans had sent many big shots to cooperate with them. Their expressions were cold as they looked down at the ancient domains. They sneered and said, "All races that are related to the celestial court must be destroyed. This is the law of 9 clans annihilation that cannot be violated." Immortal world, reincarnation ancient city. In an extremely prosperous city belonging to the immortal world, blood flowed like a river on the guillotine. The onlookers who came and went trembled one after another. Quite a few races had been wiped out, and no one dared to plead for leniency. On the guillotine, hundreds of executioners waved their hands and beheaded them. "Boo-hoo, I miss Daddy. Mother, I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Why do they want to kill us?" Why, the sound of crying continued, and it was even more hideous than hell in the mortal world. The 4 gates of the reincarnation ancient city were filled with people from the various top forces of the ancient worlds who were escorting groups of criminals into the city. There were powerful beings, old and weak women and children, and there were even babies who had just been born. Cultivators from different races cried out in fear. They were about to be pushed to the guillotine. "You are too much. What crimes have we committed? What crimes have we committed? Aren't you afraid of retribution?" An old man cried out in grief and indignation. 9 clans were going to be annihilated. All the experts who were related to the soldiers who rebelled against the immortal world were all dragged to the guillotine. These executioners couldn't bear it, but the strongest order had been given. If they didn't carry it out, they would be buried with them. The three Tharch clans were completely enraged. They definitely wouldn't allow this to happen a second time. They wanted to complete the cleansing with iron and blood. Bear with it, and it will be over. Bear with it, child. An executioner roared as he waved his butcher's knife and chopped at a child's head. Pft, pft. Headless corpses fell on the guillotine. Blood flowed down the guillotine and almost dyed the entire city red. The three Tharch clans were calling for the world. Once they rebelled against the immortal world, only death would await them, and their 9 clans would be implicated. A calamity was playing out in the various ancient cities. It was the cruelest and most bloody event that would shake the immortal world. Boom! In an instant, the entire majestic reincarnation ancient city shook. The bleeding city seemed to have been invaded by a world-burning power. The ancient city shook violently and was about to explode. Who's there? The expression of the overseer in the city changed. He looked at the world in the distance. His expression was extremely ugly. Kill them! The ancient city shook violently. Billions of roars exploded and surged violently. That was endless fury burning. It tore the sky apart and drowned reincarnation ancient city. It was so terrifying that the experts in the city trembled in fear. Heavens! Countless people cried out in horror. The billions of soldiers were like a pack of injured beasts. Their eyes were blood-red, and they were so terrifying that they wanted to crush the immortal world. They wanted to slaughter all the experts in reincarnation ancient city. Roar! All of you have to die. All of you have to die. The three Tharch clans will not live under the same sky as you. The soldiers that were rushing over were shrieking miserably. Along the way they had seen too many tragedies. The ancient cities were all bleeding, and the three Tharch clans had given the strongest battle order. They were going to annihilate their 9 clans. The experts of the reincarnation Imperial clan trembled. What was going on? They had killed their way out. What were they doing? Were they crazy? They still dared to kill their way out at this time. Weren't the experts of the Imperial clan going to attack Burial World? A general let out a hysterical roar. His eyes were filled with tears. He saw some heads. These were their distant relatives. They were actually dragged into the city to be beheaded. I've let you all down. Woo woo. Many soldiers cried. They were mad with hatred. The entire reincarnation ancient city turned red. The 4 city gates suddenly exploded. Kill! The soldiers in the sky went crazy. Their angry roars split the sky. What was a mere reincarnation ancient city? They released their emperor's killing intent. The old azure dragon's huge claw directly destroyed the city lord's residence and suppressed the experts of the reincarnation Imperial clan. You crazy dog! The old azure dragon's eyes trembled. He felt pain in his heart. His huge claw slammed down. In an instant, the experts in the city lord's residence exploded. The sky was filled with blood. The city was trembling. The residents in the city were terrified. The army of billions was unstoppable. Too many people had died. A large number of the experts of the 3 Tharch clans had also died. Kill to stop killing. The Phoenix King shouted with grief and indignation. Investigate. Find out who helped the 3 Tharch clans to capture people. Destroy them. The entire city was in chaos. Too many people were terrified and frantically ran out of the city. However, who could escape from the army of billions? The city was sealed inside and out. The entire city was bleeding. The soldiers who killed their way in were completely crazy. They couldn't wait to kill all the living beings in the city. Reincarnation ancient city is in danger. At this moment, the reincarnation Imperial clan was holding an emergency meeting. A group of old monsters was awakened from their slumber. They walked out from the ancestral court and took charge of the situation. The situation in the ancestral land of reincarnation was very tragic. Many ancestral lands had sunk. A part of the ancestral court had collapsed. The current celestial lord had also been killed. This was the pain of the entire race. They wanted to overturn the burial realm and kill the experts of the Celestial Court. However, things were a little ridiculous now. How many experts of the Celestial Court had come? Were there only 2 terrifying beings? Could there be other experts? In short, the entire race was uneasy. This was an inauspicious sign. They knew how powerful the Celestial Court was, but they didn't know how powerful the Celestial Court was now. The 3 Tharch clans had forced Su Yen into a desperate situation. Now that the Celestial Court had come, how could they let things go? In the highest meeting room, a group of old monsters had gloomy expressions. The situation was too terrible and troublesome. What made them truly terrified was whether the master of the Celestial Court was still alive. This was related to the survival of the entire race. A large group of old monsters in the ancestral court came out of seclusion. The celestial world was in chaos and the situation was unstable. The 3 Tharch clans wanted to control the situation in the celestial world in a short time. They wanted to mobilize the entire celestial world's power and restore their power. As the news of the celestial court's arrival came, their urgent plan was disrupted. The various Tharch clans didn't make any response. They chose to remain silent. Bastard! An old monster shouted angrily. Who is guarding the reincarnation ancient city at this time? Why are you adding to the chaos? Destroying the celestial court is the most important task now. Let's unite the Sien people and the celestial race. I think we should hold a joint meeting. This matter must be resolved quickly. An old giant said in a low voice. We must resolve this within 3 days. Otherwise, it will threaten the foundation of the celestial world and shake the prestige of the 3 Tharch clans. No matter how big the storm is, once the 3 Tharch clans gather, we will be able to suppress it. The higher-ups all agreed. At this point, it was no longer an emergency that their race could resolve. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the vast reincarnation ancestral land, which covered the entire 10,000 ancient worlds, suddenly became extremely oppressive. Then, the seal of the ancestral land suddenly exploded. Boom! A huge purple hoof came down from the sky and exploded with monstrous waves. It charged toward the reincarnation world like billions of purple stars. Its aura was as terrifying as lightning, and its power covered the entire ancestral land of the reincarnation Tharch clan. Who is it? In the highest meeting hall, an old giant's face was gloomy. He instantly freed a huge golden hand and blocked the huge purple hoof from the sky. Roar! The immemorial Qilin roared, and the sea of stars collapsed. The huge purple hoof crushed the huge golden hand. The purple hoof struck toward the reincarnation ancestral land. In the process, it sputtered out billowing energy storms that swept across the entire ancestral land world. The shock waves that were close to destroying the world tore the bodies of too many people apart. They didn't even have time to react or struggle before they exploded. The reincarnation ancestral land suffered heavy losses. This was a destructive force. The attack on the reincarnation ancestral land led to a bloody disaster. B*****. A group of old giants in the highest meeting hall screamed. The people from the celestial court had come. They had come directly to their door. Roar! Another loud roar exploded. The space outside the sky shattered. The majestic and huge pitch-black figure instantly became extremely terrifying. It was as if an endless black sun had exploded. The light of calamity scattered down and charged toward the reincarnation ancestral land. The supreme combat power that could shake the immortal world exploded, causing a commotion. The experts who were watching from afar cried out in horror. How long had it been since the reincarnation ancestral land was attacked? Now it was happening again. However, the 2 terrifying beings who attacked this time seemed a little ridiculous. Boom! The ancestral land released a protective formation at an extremely fast speed. As the laws of order intertwined, they formed a protective divine light that tried to stop Blackie and the purple Qilin. Kill! From this moment on, the two terrifying beings engulfed the universe. They entered battle mode. The stars outside the universe were annihilated silently. One could imagine how powerful the power they released was. The sky collapsed. The protective formation of the reincarnation ancestral land that had awakened trembled again. The people in the outside world were shocked. What kind of beings were these? With a single blow, the guardian light of the ancestral land had been shattered. This was a supreme combat power that could shake the entire reincarnation ancestral land. It was much more ferocious than the time when the Sword Ancestor and the others attacked the reincarnation ancestral land. Chapter 2091. Two supreme beings attacked the reincarnation Emperor family, causing a huge commotion. This was already the second time. Didn't they join forces to attack the burial realm? But what happened that caused two terrifying leaders to attack the reincarnation Emperor family? Could it be that they were related to the celestial court? Roar! The Black King roared as he swallowed the moon. His pitch-black majestic figure and cold aura shook the celestial world. Cold killing intent surged out, causing a great disaster. It indicated that a terrifying giant was going crazy. Boom! The protective divine light of the entire reincarnation ancestral land collapsed. The surging black storm was like a great gale of death that annihilated the monarch race. Billions of black torrents gushed out, covering the entire ancestral land in a short period of time. Extremely terrifying combat strength, overbearing to the extreme. It had the determination to overturn the reincarnation ancestral land. It had to be said that this was extremely crazy. Large amounts of reincarnation Emperor clan's cultivators trembled as their bodies split apart. They cried out in fear. What kind of unmatched creature was this? It wanted to wipe out all of the Emperor clans with a single thought. All of you have to die. The Black King roared. They were once weak and bullied. He could understand how East Demon and the others felt. Now they were all powerful and could shake the universe. They could cross the river of time and look down on all things in the world. Now they actually dared to bully the celestial court. They dared to target Su Yen, who was crowned emperor in one battle. This made the Black King completely angry. His eyes emitted a cold light of purgatory. He wanted to destroy the emperor family first. In fact, it had always been protective of its own people. If the heavenly court was at its peak, if the reincarnation emperor tribe dared to bully the heavenly court, it would immediately send troops to flatten the entire reincarnation emperor tribe. The world was full of blood. It surged and flooded the 9 heavens. It was a shocking scene. A group of old giants walked out of the meeting hall and tried to resist, but they couldn't stop the Black King's violent combat strength. It was like a torrent of history crashing down, giving birth to a world-destroying storm. Boom! During this process, the purple Chilant's large hoof smashed down, sinking the vast ancestral land world. The thick reincarnation Great Earth disintegrated, crushing a giant palace. A large number of experts within fell. The two terrifying creatures attacked the reincarnation Emperor clan. In a short period of time, bloodshed occurred. However, this race was not to be underestimated. Their inheritance was ancient and their resources were boundless. As the great danger approached the ancestral land of reincarnation, some mountains began to glow and some Tao palaces began to awaken. The reincarnation emperor race had given birth to more than one true emperor. There were terrifying old monsters that were roaring, shaking the reincarnation cycle of heaven and earth. It was as if they were unmatched creatures that crawled out from the underworld, their roars shaking the bleeding ancestral land. There were also tombs that split apart, a blood-red heavenly spear rushing out, able to easily tear apart the ancient star domain. It hacked over like an unmatched demonic weapon, hacking towards the purple Chilan. There was also an ancient bell that was rumbling as it rotated. The pitch-black bell instantly became incomparably powerful, vibrating with billions of layers of black ripples that continuously suppressed towards the two great creatures. Bring out the hidden power, suppress and kill the evil. The reincarnation Emperor clan's old giants roared. The clan's hidden power was completely ignited, great murderous weapons appearing one after another. There was also a terrifying world power that awakened, heaven overflowing great formations burning densely. In an instant, reincarnation ancestral land burned the heavens, shooting out millions and millions of natural laws, interweaving together, forming the clan's most terrifying hidden power. It immediately attacked Big Black and the purple Qilin. Roar. The archaic Qilin roared angrily, opening its mouth and spitting out a purple heavenart halberd, crushing space and time. This was like an unmatched vicious weapon that had been sleeping for endless years. The instant it was unsealed, terrifying berserk wolves began to roll. They were like giant waves that moved the heavens. Big Black spat out the Black King Furnace, scattering down the great universe destruction irregular scenes, aiming at reincarnation Emperor clan's hidden power. The Black Tiger King's terror was unquestionable. The Black Divine Furnace burned fiercely, radiating the grand scene of 3,000 great universes' destruction, engulfing outwards. In that instant, it produced a terrifying collision with reincarnation ancestral land's hidden power. Honglong. The heavens exploded, as if the world's doomsday was coming. Space and time headed towards destruction, order headed towards collapse. This was extremely terrifying. The great stars in outer space were shaken down, an incomparably powerful storm formed, turning into a layout that made even monarch experts tremble in fear. What kind of weapon was this? Could it be a supreme treasure that forcibly stopped reincarnation ancestral land's sea of laws? Kill! In an instant, the purple Qilin roared, the purple heavenart halberd striking out, blasting the millions and millions of reincarnation laws into chaos. Under the madness of a peerless overlord, it actually opened up a large gap, slaughtering its way towards reincarnation ancestral land. A large expanse of the world exploded, human lives were like grass, all creatures below the monarch realm were defeated, blasted into ashes. In a short period of time, the purple Qilin displayed its might, a matchless war god, brandishing the heavenart halberd tens of thousands of times, striking reincarnation ancestral land's torrent laws until tens of thousands of large cracks appeared. This indicated an absolute slaughter, violent and unstoppable. Reincarnation ancestral land collapsed one after another, the entire grand world was riddled with holes, tens of thousands of creatures bathed in blood, a large number of immortal kings were killed. Some monarch experts tried to stop it, but it was useless. No matter how tyrannical their power was, it was very difficult to stop the purple Qilin who was one with the weapon. At this moment, he turned into a supreme monarch expert, his roar shaking the great universe. Blood dyed the 33 heavens. The people in the outside world were scared silly, trembling in fear. What kind of creature was this? Wasn't it too terrifying? Reincarnation ancestral land's foundation was suppressed, and then it was broken through by a crazy Qilin, causing reincarnation ancestral land to shake continuously, triggering a terrifying chaos. Even if reincarnation ancestral land's true monarch experts took action, resisting Little Purple's supreme killing power, it was useless. That creature emitted an aura that was too fierce, as if a heaven-splitting overlord was reborn. The heavenart halberd could break through anything. This was a peak weapon among supreme treasures, merged with Little Purple, attacking reincarnation ancestral land until blood flowed continuously. Scoundrel, stop! At this time, a furious voice exploded, transmitted over from a distant region. A black-clothed woman crossed the long river of time and space, crossing the universe's sea of stars, hurrying towards reincarnation ancestral land. She was furious. Reincarnation ancestral land suffered a heavy blow again, Even burning its greatest foundation couldn't stop them from unleashing a massacre. Roar, Little Purple roared, instantly becoming powerful and peerless, his flesh burning. Suddenly, even from a distant world, the two great experts fought across the long river of time. The black-clothed woman brandished her single arm, turning it into a sparkling white jade palm, engulfing heaven and earth, releasing the most powerful monarch expert's strength. "Be careful!" Big Black was alerted. Although Little Purple wasn't the strongest monarch, the moment it went berserk, the blood essence in its body burned fiercely, and its strength increased greatly. Suddenly, it collided with the black-clothed woman's single arm. In an instant, the great Tao collapsed, time and space were destroyed. A clash of supremacy, a single clash, Little Purple was forced back several steps. Similarly, the black-clothed woman's single arm trembled chaotically, the web between her thumb and forefinger also split open, blood spilling out. The experts of reincarnation, Imperial family, were alarmed. This was the second ancestor, the strongest expert of reincarnation, Imperial family. "Who are you people?" The black-clothed woman's eyes opened wide in anger. Even a peak monarch expert could reverse the situation. To be able to erupt with such strength, where did this person come from? In fact, the one she feared wasn't the Purple Qilin, but the Black King who used the Black King Furnace to suppress reincarnation, Imperial family's foundation. "I'll kill you!" The Purple Qilin's scales made clanging sounds, its mouth and nose spewed out purple energy torrents, as if 10,000 worlds had appeared. This was the Qilin's roar. The syllables that filled the sky contained a rhythm. The world was pulsating, instantly suppressing the black-clothed woman. "Stop!" The black-clothed woman was furious, wanting to kill her way out to stop the Black King. However, there wasn't enough time, and the Purple Qilin's strength was too crazy. The black-clothed woman had no choice but to deal with it with all her strength. At this moment, the big black tiger's eyes opened wide in anger, blood spurting out from the corner of its mouth, but in an instant it became even more powerful. The Black King Furnace burned fiercely, and suddenly, the strongest foundation that was riddled with holes exploded. "Open for me!" Big Black roared, the vitality in its body surging wildly. It didn't matter if it had to pay a price. It had already determined the coordinates of reincarnation, Imperial family's treasury. No, in an instant, reincarnation Imperial family was in chaos, their strongest foundation collapsed. It was equivalent to breaking the dragon vein. The vast ancestral land world that affected the ancient worlds collapsed endlessly in an instant. Huge cracks appeared on the mountains and rivers, countless palaces collapsed, and countless clansmen screamed miserably. This was a supreme attack. It broke the foundation of reincarnation ancestral land. A huge crack appeared in the ancestral court. How is this possible? The experts who were watching the battle from afar were trembling. Reincarnation ancestral land was riddled with holes, a sea of blood flowed, the number of people who died was immeasurable. It was as if 99% of the living beings were slaughtered, the entire clan was about to be exterminated. How terrifying was the black giant beast! The moment its huge body merged with the Black King Furnace, it emitted an unparalleled killing intent, breaking apart the strongest foundation of reincarnation Imperial family, causing the ancestral land to collapse. The collapse of the ancestral land's foundation indicated that this clan's fate was about to reach its peak. Boom! The big black tiger's expression was cold, and its bell-sized eyes were wide open. It was rather calm, its huge claws quickly stretched out, plowing through the ancestral court. It really didn't reject anything. The countless underground treasury, a secret treasury with millions of treasures, were dug out by it in an instant. Not a single feather was left behind. One had to admit that this kind of method required countless tempering before it could be completed in an instant. This had always been its style. Rather than killing more experts, it would be better to dig out their foundation. Of course, what the big black tiger was really looking for was not these things. It had to find the Tharch medicine in a short period of time and solve its internal problems before it could deal with the three Tharch clans in peace. The big black tiger searched the entire ancestral land in a short period of time, but it didn't find the Tharch medicine. In the end, its huge claws pressed towards the ancestral court endlessly. Bastard! The black-clothed woman's eyes were about to split open. She was driven crazy, so angry that her heart and lungs were trembling, and the boundless sky was about to collapse. In fact, even if she charged forward, she might not be able to stop the Black King. Nothing must happen to the ancestral court, otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Eldest senior brother, third junior brother. Hurry up and attack. The black-clothed woman roared at the sky, summon master and kill them. If this happens again, where is the dignity of our three Tharch clans? Such ridiculous words spread throughout the vast space-time. In an instant, heaven and earth trembled, and the experts of the various Tharch clans cried out in shock. They actually had a master. Could it be that the legend was true? The master of the celestial world had appeared. The Black King calls for everyone to quickly come and vote. Chapter 2092. Eldest senior brother, third junior brother. 2 words, 2 titles, and the master behind them. This matter instantly caused a boundless storm. The experts of the various emperor clans who were watching from afar couldn't help but tremble. They felt a chill run down their spines, and their hearts were filled with fear. Some of the ancient emperor clans fell silent. The reason why they didn't stop it in the Emperor City was because the origins of the 3 emperor clans were too great. They were worried that they would be killed. The most ancient 3 emperor clans formed along with the origin of the 3 realms. Was the secret about to be revealed? The black-clothed woman was the master of the reincarnation emperor clan, known as the second ancestor. There were many rumors about her. Some said that she was the founder of the Reincarnation Emperor clan, some said that she was a life form that accompanied the origin of the celestial world, and some said that she was born from the heavens. In short, she was known as one of the strongest emperors in the celestial world. With her overseeing the Reincarnation Emperor clan, as long as she didn't die, the Reincarnation Emperor clan would definitely prosper forever. But now, she shouted out the names of eldest senior brother and third junior brother? This truly frightened everyone in the world. Wasn't the black-clothed woman terrifying enough? She actually had senior and junior brothers, and she even had a master. This was simply a fantasy. This was simply like a terrifying heavy comet that would sweep through the billions of clans in the celestial world, causing an unimaginable great wave. This is impossible. An expert cried out miserably as he saw an inconceivable scene. The Reincarnation Emperor clan had already been destroyed. Their foundation had exploded, and the dragon veins had collapsed. The vast ancestral land was filled with dense black crack. Countless palaces and halls had collapsed, and large batches of living beings were soaked in blood. This kind of heavy injury was unimaginable. The entire clan had encountered a great disaster. After all, tens of millions of years ago, the ancestral land of the Reincarnation Emperor clan had already collapsed. Although their foundation had been rebuilt, it was definitely not as prosperous as the ancestral land back then. Injuries on top of injuries, the current Reincarnation ancestral land was too miserable. Moreover, Big Black's claws had swept across the entire Reincarnation ancestral land, and in a short period of time, he had taken away millions of treasures. More than half of the wealth that the Emperor clan had accumulated over a long period of time was directly stolen by Big Black. Although it wasn't some of the strongest treasures in the ancestral court, these treasures were no small matter. Who knew how many tens of thousands of years of accumulation? This was enough for the declining celestial court to amass an enormous amount of wealth that could not be used up even after 100,000 years. Its value could only be measured in billions of immortal sources. At this moment, Big Black's claws were about to press down on ancestral court and open this terrifying small world. Stop! A roar that shook the heavens and the earth exploded out. It was like a supreme god of war had arrived at the peak of the immortal world. His vital energy and blood were exuberant like a large furnace that could smelt the universe, and it emanated a dense glow of vital energy and blood that simply caused the ground of the immortal world to tremble. Boom! The unmatched existence came out of seclusion, whistling about as storms surged, affecting the distant world. Millions and millions of strands of golden light trembled under the unmatched might and matchless blood and chi, shaking up the immortal realm's space-time. Grand Ancestor. In the direction of the celestial race, an imposing figure leapt out. It was incomparably majestic as it traveled between star fields, its gait like a dragon or tiger, the aura it released destroying everything. Even the land beyond the heavens produced space-time turbulence. The terrifying figure arrived in the blink of an eye, and it was boundlessly horrifying. The great stars that filled the sky exploded, suns exploding one after another. In the world he was in, all living things withered away, the sea of stars heading towards great destruction. Then, natural laws and order were reconstructed, an immeasurable world was established, its might shaking the immortal world. Grand Ancestor. Someone's voice trembled. This was the most ancient existence of the Sien people, known as the founder of the celestial race, known as the Grand Ancestor. At this moment, the Grand Ancestor's figure was imposing, as if the celestial race's celestial emperor was reborn, overlooking the great earth of the immortal world. How could this be? An Emperor clan member cried out miserably. The Grand Ancestor was extremely glorious, terrifying to the point where even the Emperor clans felt a bit suffocated. Now, he stood out. Could it be that this Grand Ancestor was the great senior brother of Reincarnation Emperor clan's second ancestor? Dong. The Grand Ancestor crossed the vast space-time, separated by a distant world. In that instant, he brandished his fist imprint, as if it blasted through 10,000 realms. The imposing fist imprint was enough to cover the 9 heavens, 10 earths. Heavens! All living things trembled. This person was even more terrifying than the second ancestor. Could it be that he was this bloodline's great senior brother? He was ridiculously powerful. Terrifying might swept through the immortal world's space-time, triggering a great earthquake. The Grand Ancestor erupted with power, smashing murderously towards the big black claw that was attacking Ancestral Court. This strike was terrifying to the extreme. Even the immortal world collapsed into a great crack, running through 10,000 realms. It was hard to imagine just how terrifying the power contained within was. Moreover, as the fist imprint erupted, a great rift valley appeared in heaven and earth, squeezing towards the space beyond the heavens, triggering a great world-destroying storm that surged violently into the heavens. Hong! In that instant, the big black claw shone, streak after streak of natural laws rushing out, as if the end of the great river of time erupted with world-destroying light, rushing into the heavens. Soon after, terrifying fluctuations rippled out. Without a doubt, Big Black erupted with extremely terrifying fighting strength, the most powerful profound mysteries erupting. It was so imposing it made the great world tremble, as if it entered the cycle of life and death. What a terrifying existence! So this is the most powerful Emperor-level expert. Limit Emperor-level expert. Countless people roared. The Grand Ancestor could be called one of the most terrifying giants in the immortal world. Now that he was facing the Black Beast Shadow from the Celestial Court, who was stronger and who was weaker. The moment the two experts clashed, it was as if billions of stars had exploded. The phenomenon within was quite terrifying, as if the long river of history had been opened, triggering a terrifying change, causing the great Tao of the immortal world to wail. Boom! This was a world-destroying battle, affecting the environment of the immortal world, causing it to tremble. The short confrontation between the two was like two opposing sides of the long river of history, erupting with the most terrifying battle across the distant space-time. A single exchange could shatter the enemy's body and bones, causing them to fall into the land of death. The great stars in the sky disintegrated, exploding in the long river of outer space, turning into resplendent fireworks. "Junior, you can't do it!" Big Black roared, its body glowing, rushing out of the world-destroying light that filled the sky, describing life and death, intertwining together to display the most powerful profound. It destroyed the fist imprint that filled the sky, causing the world to explode, so terrifying that it covered the world. Roar, the giant black beast roared, shaking the 6 realms of reincarnation, rising into the torrent of history. It was so huge that it was boundless, as if it had turned into the Lord of Darkness. The entire space-time disintegrated, and the Grand Ancestor's mighty chi and blood that filled the sky was about to be completely shattered. Vaguely, the world saw the giant black beast shadow crushing the 9 heavens and 10 lands, wanting to kill the Grand Ancestor's true body. In an instant, a man in snow-white robes appeared. He was handsome beyond compare, with snow-white hair, containing the aura of a god and a saint. Once he erupted and awakened, the great Tao of the heavens and earth prostrated at his feet, trembling. His left hand rose to suppress Big Black, while his other hand rose to cover Purple Qilin. "Kill!" the second reincarnation patriarch roared, and the woman in black instantly became stronger, clapping her hands, wanting to destroy Purple Qilin first. Then, the 3 Grand Ancestors could join forces and kill Big Black. This was a life-and-death crisis for Purple Qilin, but Purple Qilin, who had been wandering the land of death all year round, roared fiercely. His aura went berserk once again, and the vague image of the ancient celestial emperors appeared behind him, clenching his fist, wanting to suppress the 3 realms. An extremely majestic aura bloomed, forcing back the second patriarch's power and the third patriarch's palm. The woman in black was shocked. This immemorial Qilin should be the disciple of the master of the celestial court. Although it wasn't the strongest emperor, it could still fight against the strongest emperor. Suddenly, no matter how big the situation was, Purple Qilin could still break through the horrifying situation. It instantly retreated to Big Black's side and said crazily, "Uncle Black, you block them. Leave this woman to me, kill her." The second reincarnation patriarch's expression was ugly. She was already injured, and once this unfathomable Big Black went berserk, it might bring about a fatal disaster. "Calm down." Big Black was at ease and became calmer. This battle was already a great harvest. It towered between heaven and earth, and its posture was very high. It was filled with dominance as it looked disdainfully at the 3 Tharch clans. In the situation where the 3 strongest experts of the 3 Tharch clans stood side by side, Big Black was also filled with majesty. He said disdainfully, "3 juniors are not qualified to fight against this king. You are really arrogant." The third patriarch, whose white clothes were whiter than snow, strolled between heaven and earth. She had a boundless divine aura and a threatening heroic spirit. Her white hair fluttered and she said coldly, "Are you sure you can defeat the 3 of us? Juniors, you are not qualified to talk to this king." Big Black's face was cold as he pointed at the Purple Qilin and said, "Or should I say, you guys are willing to fight one-on-one with my eldest nephew for a while. My eldest nephew is only an absolute emperor. If he can get rid of a strongest emperor, he might be able to become the strongest emperor in 10,000 years. You really know how to spout nonsense." The third patriarch's expression was gloomy. Big Black's attitude was very high, and he obviously treated himself as an elder. He reprimanded, "If you don't dare, bring out your master. This king wants to fight with him. As for you, you don't have the skills to fight evenly with him. You are simply too presumptuous. My master has transcended the 3 realms and is the supreme ruler. Who do you think you are? You are not qualified to talk to my master." The black-clothed woman was furious. This big black tiger was too arrogant. Did he really think that he was the master of the celestial court? Little Z was very clear that Big Black was the brother of the master of the Celestial Court. His identity and status were too terrifying. If the Celestial Court was at its peak, the three of them were really not qualified to talk to Big Black, unless the masters behind them could come out. Little b****, don't behave atrociously in front of this king. If the two of them had not come, your clan would have already ceased to exist. Big Black sneered. Where is your master? Which tomb is he hiding in? Why don't he come out and see this king? The Celestial Patriarch, who had always been a man of few words, had a bone-chilling murderous look in his eyes. Did they really think that the Celestial Court was still the Celestial Court of the past? This is the immortal realm. It is not the place for the Celestial Court to behave atrociously here. The Patriarch said calmly. If you want to stand up for your family and seek justice, you are not qualified. Or rather, you should invite the master of the Celestial Court here. Ha 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 ha! Little Z laughed. 30 million years ago, you people knelt in the ancestral land and used your ultimate trump card to beg the master of the Celestial Court to forgive you. Have you forgotten? Do you want me to help you learn the new? Kill them! The black-clothed woman's eyes were blood-red. The foundation of the ancestral land of reincarnation had collapsed, the clan had suffered heavy casualties, and even the treasury had been taken away. This hatred was too great. The Patriarch, the Second Patriarch, and the Third Patriarch, the three legendary existences of the immortal realm stood side by side. Now that things had come to this, there was no turning back. It didn't matter if the Celestial Heaven's sovereign was still alive, they had to kill the experts from the Celestial Heaven's lineage. Otherwise, once they retreated safely, the three Thearchs clans would definitely lose all face. Kill! The three great experts shouted angrily at the same time, and supreme true treasures and supreme killing weapons rose from their backs one after another. Under their activation, the three great treasures rose to the strongest state in an instant. This indicated that it was very terrifying. The bleeding bodies, the blood-stained hands, and the cold and emotionless vertical eyes. The purple Cheelant's expression was solemn. Back then, the Monkey King's immortal iron rod was broken by the three supreme treasures. Now that the three supreme treasures gathered together again, it triggered a terrifying phenomenon that caused the entire celestial world to tremble and rumble. It was an unbelievable scene. The bleeding bodies of the three great experts suddenly blazed with a terrifying blood-red light. The three emperor clans are one. The great experts of the various emperor clans were trembling. It was said that the three emperor clans' waters were very deep. At this moment they truly understood what the three emperor clans were. Were they one clan to begin with? The three great supreme true treasures of the three emperor clans suddenly merged into one, forming the eternity of the immortal realm. It caused the entire immortal realm's momentum to awaken, accompanied by the three great treasures that had merged into one. The terrifying aura spread throughout the immortal realm, causing chaos and panic. Boom! The strongest and most domineering aura appeared, penetrating through the past, present, and future. The power that was activated shook the past and the present. The billions of ancient worlds in the immortal realm resonated and danced wildly. The billions of ancient worlds began to rumble and revolve as the three emperor weapons merged into one. What a great three emperor clans! I really underestimated them. The existence behind this clan was once the master of the immortal realm, an existence on the same level as the Dark Emperor of the Dark World and the Human Emperor of the Human Realm. Little Z said softly. The three great treasures merged and vaguely outlined a boundless majestic figure. Its aura penetrated through the past and present, roaming the river of history, dominating the past, present, and future. Blackie frowned slightly. When they roamed the burial Emperor Vile Earth, they had investigated many top-secret matters. It was said that the Dark Emperor, the Human Emperor, and other beings that had once accompanied the origin of the three realms. This group of people had lived for countless years, and the waters were very deep. Perhaps they were still alive. It was also said that this group of people had once created the Three Realms mountain. These were all top secrets, but because it happened so long ago, perhaps the master of the celestial court was standing here and could use his supreme magic power to penetrate through the past and present to investigate these historical mysteries. Because this series of matters was related to the current situation of the Three Realms. Unfortunately, the master of the celestial court left in a hurry and might have been lured away. Therefore, when they went to search for him, they were trapped in the burial Emperor Vile Earth, and encountered a lot of trouble and difficulties. Black King stood tall, his mouth and nose spewing out reincarnation light. His bell-sized eyes emitted a profound light. From the three Emperor weapons, he saw through the origins of the three Emperor clans. They might have the same master behind them, but it was very likely that there were three. It's getting more and more interesting. They are all a group of old antique. Are they all in the deepest part of the burial Emperor Vile Earth? Black King snorted. Enemies were the motivation to move forward. Without a strong enemy, cultivating bitterly for a long time would just be standing still. Chapter 2093. Celestial Realms. Great Earth rumbled fiercely, millions and millions of ancient worlds resonating. The entire celestial realm's space-time roared fiercely, producing an aura that was hard to describe. It was as if an unmatched giant in the long river of history was returning to the celestial realm, triggering the celestial realm's great influence to resonate with it. This was extremely terrifying. All creatures in the heavens trembled, unable to control their bodies at all. The aura that surged out from Reincarnation Emperor Clan's direction was too imposing in the end, as if a supreme deity that supported the celestial realm suddenly woke up from its slumber. A sigh sounded. Celestial realms. Millions and millions of ancient worlds trembled, as if the path of reincarnation was going to collapse, walk out from the ancient cave. What is this? Celestial realms. Great Emperor clans cried out in alarm. Was this the existence behind the three Emperor clans? What kind of level was involved in this? Just how deep were the three Emperor clans' waters? No one expected that the three Emperor clans' supreme treasures would merge into one, revealing an extremely imposing figure. Its aura was everywhere, filling the great earth of celestial realm, overlooking millions and millions of creatures. Suddenly, all living things in the celestial realm knelt down in worship, kowtowing towards that imposing figure. It was as if some type of contract was completed, announcing the return of the celestial realm's lord. Hong Long. The long river of history rumbled, shaking the ancient past, shaking the ancient past, shaking the ancient past and present, about to erupt with a space-time rupture, about to produce a historical change. This was too terrifying. The influence this type of person released could affect the past, present, and future. Once the terrifying power was released, it could even affect a portion of history. It was hard to imagine just what kind of level it reached. Is this an existence comparable to Master? He grasps the entire celestial realm. Once he collapses, the celestial realm will also collapse. Perhaps this is the reason why Master didn't wipe out the three Emperor clans back then. Once they were wiped out, would the celestial realm no longer exist? The purple Qilin was trembling, its body and mind about to collapse. The existence it faced was unimaginable. This was an unmatched giant who looked down on the long river of history, the aura it released spreading through the celestial realm, similarly triggering the awakening of the celestial realm's great influence. It was a blurry figure, unable to see its full appearance. It was too majestic, as if it stood between the past and the future, unable to see just how powerful it was. There is only a single incarnation. It seems like the old monster behind you all won't be able to return. Big Black roared, completely letting go. All of the hair on its body danced about chaotically. With the Black King furnace and its own body's most powerful fighting strength, it resisted the effects. It wasn't in such a bad state that it couldn't face it. Since you've awakened them, you'll all die. Second Ancestor's expression was cold. The three supreme treasures merged into one, revealing a figure that supported the past, present, and future as it slaughtered its way over. Roar! Blackie looked up to the sky and roared, his voice shaking the universe. Suddenly, he opened his mouth and spat out a huge cauldron. The cauldron was thick and heavy, blocking the heavens. It turned into an extremely powerful artifact that traveled through time. Boom! This cauldron scattered the light of the myriad worlds. The interior of the cauldron was filled with chaos, and it seemed as though it was burying all living things and billions of universes. It was too terrifying, and it even reflected the complete Xianhuang great cosmos. Little Z shouted excitedly. This was her master's item, the most powerful treasure of the Celestial Court. It was used to suppress the fate of the Celestial Court. When her master left, she gave this cauldron to the Black King. Once this treasure erupted and burned, the great cosmos would explode, opening up the 33 heavens and evolving the myriad world. The power it spat out outlined a shadow, about to blast through the three realms and slaughter its way into the buried Emperor Vile Earth. The massive cauldron gushed with the light of the myriad worlds. The air that rose from it vaguely formed a shadow. It was domineering over time, unrivaled in the long river of time, overlooking history. The power it emitted swept through the long river of time, stabilizing some changes and chaos. It was as if it was suppressing the celestial world, suppressing the celestial world's general trend. Hong Long. In that instant, the instant the two terrifying figures confronted each other, the celestial world's great earth trembled as if it was going to fall. It caused the distant territories to collapse, large cracks appearing one after another. Heavens! The celestial kings trembled as they cried out. The boundless pressure made them tremble. This aura swept through the celestial world, about to force its way out of the three realms. It was so terrifying that it made all living things despair. What kind of power was this? Especially here in reincarnation ancestral land, an even more terrifying disaster was born. An old giant roared in grief, his body about to disintegrate. This was too terrifying. Back then, Su Yen relied on the law order of the Celestial Court's master. Now, his artifact was released, telling the world what the true strongest was. The long river of history rumbled. Once a great battle erupted, it would simply affect a portion of history. That kind of aura was world-shaking, unrivaled. Pu. Reincarnation ancestral land suffered disastrous casualties. Large numbers of cultivators exploded, dyeing the boundless territory red. Bastard! Second Ancestor cried out mournfully, doing her best to protect her clansmen. Her heart and lungs were also trembling. Her clan's casualties were too great. If not for the ancestral court being able to hold on, this clan would really be wiped out. They completely disregarded the consequences. They even discovered that Big Black was pushing the myriad world cauldron, about to attack and trigger a world-ending calamity. We hope that the experts of the Celestial Court will take pity on the immortal world and give the world a way out. The experts of the various great emperor clans came and kowtowed. They lost control and roared, tears streaming down their faces. Once a battle broke out, the immortal world would collapse and very likely break apart. At that time, all life would be plunged into misery and suffering. Trillions of lives would be wiped out. This was a monstrous disaster that would dye history red. Unless the existence behind the three emperor clans was still alive and could rebuild the immortal world, a large part of the immortal world would very likely sink. In fact, the experts of the three emperor clans were sweating profusely. They were scared stiff. This was because once a battle broke out, it would trigger a huge change in the long river of history. The consequences would be unimaginable. Big Black's expression was solemn. He had discovered a serious problem. The combined power of the three great supreme treasures could mobilize the immortal world's general trend. If a battle really broke out, they would very likely encounter great trouble. However, Big Black was not anxious. He smiled cunningly. Just this. The three ancestors' faces were somewhat distorted and ugly. This was because they did not dare to fight. Once a battle broke out, the immortal world would collapse, and the fate of the various clans would also be broken. The Reincarnation Emperor clan would be completely annihilated, and the losses would be endless. This was an irreversible loss. What do you want? The great ancestor opened his mouth. His voice was like a large bell. He said coldly, "If a battle really breaks out, neither of us will have a good ending. Once the immortal world is heavily damaged, the dark world will directly attack the human world and complete the unification. At that time, even if the master of the celestial court returns, he will be powerless to reverse the situation. What do I have to fear? At most, I will just take my clansmen and leave." Big Black sneered. A bunch of immortal world dogs dare to bully the celestial court. If the immortal world collapses, then so be it. What does it have to do with me? The sky changed color. This sentence was too serious. The experts who were watching the battle from afar were all trembling. Once this big black tiger went crazy, this would be an irreversible loss. Who knew what kind of disaster it would cause? What do you want? The woman in black clenched her fists and said sternly, "Bully the celestial court? Do you know how heavy the losses of the three emperor clans are? Are you not afraid that I will take the three emperor weapons and suppress the human world?" This matter started from the emperor city. The three emperor clans had suffered heavy losses. Their emperors fell one after another. They originally wanted to open the burial realm to prevent future troubles. Who knew that the celestial court would send a person who was not afraid of trouble? "My request is very simple," Big Black said coldly. "Hand over the three emperor medicines." "It is that simple." "That simple?" The experts of the three emperor clans were furious. Their eyes were bloodshot. Did they know what emperor medicines were? 3 emperor medicines? It was impossible for them to suddenly give up one. Moreover, once they gave in, the 3 emperor clans would lose their dignity. What reputation would they have left to control the immortal world? Impossible! The third ancestor roared and said angrily, "You are all delusional. If we really fight, you will die. On the contrary, the 3 emperor clans will not be destroyed." "Then try it." Big Black laughed angrily. 3 emperor medicines, not one less. Hand them over immediately. The experts of the 3 emperor clans were flustered and exasperated. However, their weakness was grasped. No matter how bold they would not dare to use the 3 emperor weapons unless they were really forced into a desperate situation. "Little Purple," Big Black said coldly, "if I die in battle, immediately go outside the 3 realms and call back the Celestial Court army. Destroy the 3 emperor clans and rule the immortal world." "You should have done this long ago," the purple Qilin roared. "Back then, Master gave you a way out for the sake of all living beings in the immortal world. You dared to bully the Celestial Court. You should have done this long ago." Once this was said, the whole world trembled. Countless people's hair stood on end. Could it be that the Celestial Court's army was still there? They knew very well that there was not only one Black King in the Celestial Court. Suddenly, the master of the Celestial Court was no longer there, but the Celestial Court still had a group of absolute overlords. Although the 3 emperor clans also had a foundation and there were people in the ancestral court who were not inferior to the 3 ancestors, if they really fought, the 3 emperor clans would definitely be completely wiped out and disappear in the history of the immortal world. In short, the experts of the 3 emperor clans were almost driven crazy. How could they be kind now? The atmosphere between heaven and earth was silent to the extreme. Some old monsters sighed. The great calamity of the ancient era was still vivid in their minds. The scene back then was completely different from now. Back then, The various emperor clans of the immortal world had come to plead for mercy. But now no one dared to stand up. The change in the Emperor City had already created a deep hatred that could not be resolved. Even if the Celestial Court retreated now, they would come again in the future. Grand Ancestor, some experts of the celestial race had a headache and wanted to ask what to do. But the Grand Ancestor's heavy expression made them not dare to ask. Some people could not take it anymore. The three emperor clans were so glorious and prosperous. They were the masters behind the immortal world. But now the three emperor clans were silent. With the two great beings of the celestial court blocking their door, if this continued, the three emperor clans would lose face. This loss of face was too great. From the beginning, they wanted to kill Su Yan, but now they had made a fuss to this extent. After all, the myriad worlds cauldron was the weapon of the celestial court master. It was equivalent to him holding down this place with one hand. It would be strange if the three emperor clans' leaders did not have a headache. Time passed bit by bit. Every time an incense stick's worth of time was delayed, the storm would become more violent. The immortal world was in chaos. History was so similar, and now it was happening again. In this world with an oppressive atmosphere, the three ancestors wanted Blackie to speak first, but he did not. Blackie was extremely calm. He sat between heaven and earth, holding the myriad worlds cauldron. He did not say a word and was scheming. Could it be that this stalemate was going to continue? All of a sudden, swathes of armies swept over from the distant world. A terrifying storm. Hundreds of millions of soldiers came. It was not just the immortal Phoenix army. They had summoned many other armies along the way. There was a group of army experts who respected the Spacetime Emperor. There was also a group of army experts who had some conflicts with the three Emperor clans. Once the three Emperor clans took control of the immortal world, would they have a good ending? Definitely not. Thus, the troops that the Spacetime Emperor and the others led were terrifying in number. They were 10 to 20% of the Celestial Realm's elite troop. They rode towards the reincarnation Imperial clan, triggering a terrifying change. The experts who were watching the battle from afar were all shocked and sighed. It had changed. The immortal world had completely changed. You are really rebelling. The second ancestor was furious. He led an army here, and it was actually the experts of the Celestial Court who led the human world's army to attack the Emperor clans. What a disgrace! Hand over the Emperor medicine, the Spacetime Emperor roared. Su Yan's time was limited. He had to bring the essence soul mystic medicine back quickly. Don't be delusional. You are all soldiers of the immortal world. Now, you are being instigated by the Celestial Court to attack the immortal world. You are really shameless. The black-robed woman rebuked. Suddenly, she really wanted to hand it over. It was not the Spacetime Emperor who was talking to them. Countless soldiers roared. They wanted to ask this woman if there was a need to annihilate 9 generations of their families. Men. The Spacetime Emperor's eyes widened. The million-strong army stood out and detained hundreds of thousands of cultivators related to the three Emperor clans. You, the people of the three Emperor clans, were stunned. What were they doing? Some Emperor's expressions changed. Among them were many core members of the three Emperor clans. Kill! The Spacetime Emperor waved his hand. The Phoenix King roared, Kill! He waved his butcher's knife and killed a Sien people expert. Immediately after, the soldiers in the sky roared. The butcher's knife was at their necks. Their killing intent was like the sea. 100,000 people fell to the ground. Chapter 2094. It was blood, a blood-colored ocean. It was like a giant blood-colored mushroom cloud that surged and sputtered, breaking apart the clouds in all directions and tearing apart the heavens. The blood dyed the shattered world red. This was an extremely terrifying scene. 100,000 heads fell to the ground, and bloody light was released, indicating a bloody and tragic scene. Many members of the three Emperor clans roared and screamed. 100,000 heads fell to the ground, and those who died were all related to the 3 emperor clans. They were killed just like that, killed. You all, the old giants roared, and their eyes were blood red. They had gone crazy. Kill, kill, kill. The sky was filled with loud roars, and countless soldiers roared. This was not enough, far from enough to make up for the great disaster of 9 clans being wiped out. It was not enough. Kill again. The space-time emperor's eyes were blood red, and his scattered hair danced in the wind. He was once the protector of the immortal world, but now, he had turned into the immortal world's killing god. Stopping killing with killing. Outside the reincarnation emperor clan, heads flew everywhere. This was very terrifying. The world bloomed with blood light like an ocean. Another 100,000 people were pushed out, knelt on the ground, and beheaded. Space-time Emperor, are you so ruthless that you don't care about anything? The experts of the 3 emperor clans cried out in grief and indignation. This was forcing them to take a step back. If they didn't give them the emperor medicine, they would continue to kill. The spectators in the distance were stunned. Who would have thought that this matter would develop to such a level? If you want to wipe out our 9 clans, you want to wipe out their 9 clans too. Some soldiers roared in grief. Along the way, the immortal world was bleeding. Too many people had died. This was completely wiping out their clans. Give me the medicine. The space-time emperor's eyes trembled. Another 100,000 people were pushed out to be beheaded in public. They cried out in despair. There were also the leaders of the subordinate clans of the 3 emperor clans who cried out in grief. Space-time Emperor, this has nothing to do with us. It has nothing to do with us. Kill. The space-time Emperor shouted coldly. This world was completely dyed red with blood, and large groups of experts fell into pools of blood. Blood rain fell from the sky, and all living beings cried out in grief. Because more and more people were detained and brought back, the world was filled with cries of despair. In this world filled with corpses, the smell of blood overflowed the sky. In this world that was too horrible to look at, the experts of the 2 factions confronted each other. Boom! From this moment on, in the distant world, leaders with terrifying auras pressed over one after another, murderous intent surging. Their roars shook ancient star sea, endlessly pressing towards the place of blood. Another group of old giants from the 3 Tharch clans had arrived. There were a few who had extremely terrifying auras, and they could definitely be called Thearchs. When they saw the bleeding world, they roared furiously, all revolting, all revolting. The big black tiger took out the black king furnace and poured out a wooden box from it. The moment the wooden box was opened, the universe roared. The sound of a golden spear and an armored horse could be heard. It was as if billions of troops were roaring. The murderous aura was unparalleled. What's that? There were some old giants who were shocked, feeling their hearts palpitate. It was as if there was a great army hidden within the wooden box that was about to rush out. The killing intent was too vicious, making one's soul tremble. Blackie snorted. The wooden box was one of the most precious treasures of the celestial court. This wooden box looked exquisite, and there were pieces of ancient medallions placed inside. Military Order of the Celestial Court. Little Stone Pagoda was excited. This was an extremely important item. A long time ago, these medallions could be used to mobilize the army of the Celestial Court. This item was a set of most precious treasures of the Celestial Court that could suppress the fate of the Celestial Court. Only the pillars of the Celestial Court had the qualifications to possess it. This wasn't a simple military order. The moment Blackie threw out a military order, an extremely terrifying aura spread out. The earth-shattering battle cries reverberated, and it was about to shatter the ancient river. In an instant, the old azure dragon felt his scalp tingling. He could faintly see millions of soldiers passing through. The terrifying battle cries were about to shatter the ghosts and gods in the sky. Every military order thrown out was enough to crush the sun, moon, and stars. This wasn't just one military order. Blackie threw out 10 military orders in one breath, and the world instantly changed. Every military order was boundlessly terrifying. It acted out the scene of millions of soldiers passing through, accompanied by the boundless battle cries. Use the military orders and continue to capture the criminals. Blackie shouted coldly. Kill them until they hand over the Tharch herb. The 3 Tharch clans were huge. As long as they didn't attack the strongest ancestral ground of the 3 Tharch clans, they could go anywhere with the 10 military orders. Even if the other strongest Thearchs of the 3 Tharch clans came out to obstruct them, they could use the 10 military orders to force them to retreat. Roar! The purple Qilin released an enormous roar. It grasped the sky piercer, and the 10 great military orders revolved around it. This was a horrifying scene. An enormous archaic beast was accompanied by an army of millions. It swept through the mountains, rivers, and great earth, bringing about a world-destroying storm. With such a terrifying lineup and the purple Qilin's combat strength, who could contend against it? The Tai Baotsai's eyes were red. He really wanted to pounce and bite off a piece. There were at least 100 military orders in Blackie's wooden box. There were even some battle flags that revealed endless battle cries. There were 5 battle flags one after another. If all of these were used, only God knew how big the impact would be. This wooden box was very important. Of course, there was also a contingency. The power of these military orders couldn't be maintained for a long time. If one was wasted, there would be one less. Unless the Celestial Court's army returned and used the army's essence blood as the foundation to forge the Celestial Court's military orders again. The price to pay was naturally huge. If all of them were released, it would be too terrifying. The value had already surpassed the 3 Tharch herbs. In short, the 3 strongest experts of the 3 Tharch clans were already trapped in the reincarnation ancestral land by Blackie. They couldn't leave. Once they left, the 3 Tharch artifacts couldn't be reassembled. I advise you to leave. You can hand over 2 Tharch herbs less. Blackie's warning gaze landed on the Grand Ancestor and the 3rd Ancestor. He shouted, "Otherwise, it's hard to say if your clans can survive." The 2nd Ancestor's eyes were blood-red. This was forcing them. If the Black King went berserk and used his foundation, it would be enough to severely injure the 3 Tharch clans. "Let's talk." The Grand Ancestor finally spoke. The bronze-skinned strongest battle god couldn't do anything to this scoundrel. If they were forced like this, even if the 3 Tharch clans could survive, they would suffer heavy losses and lose more and more power. "Uncle Blackie, there's no need to talk to them now." Qilin was very irritable. She said, "I want to see what they can do to us after we slaughter all the clans related to the 3 Tharch clans." The old heads of the 3 Tharch clans' eyelids were twitching. They already had everything. What they didn't expect was that Blackie's wooden box actually contained hundreds of military orders and even 5 battle flags. From this, it could be seen how terrifying the Black King's position in the Celestial Court was. This guy also had countless treasures on him. There might be other ruthless methods he could use. "Uncle Blackie, take out all the danger zones you took away," Little Z asked. She felt that the 10 military orders weren't enough. Blackie had used his great ability to cut off a huge amount of danger zones in the Burial Emperor Vile Earth. If he really threw them out, it could turn 10 to 20% of the immortal world into a land of death. "Scoundrel, shut up." Blackie was a little anxious. He transmitted a message. "How can we tell them everything? Moreover, if we shake their foundation, who can go against the dark world? Moreover, the immortal world is so huge. Once the 3 Tharch clans are forced to a dead end, there's no guarantee that the other Tharch clans won't unite to go against the Celestial Court. Revenge is a dish best served cold. We don't lack this time." Blackie warned Qilin seriously. He wouldn't underestimate any of the Tharch clans. The ancient Tharch clans of the immortal world had produced true Thearchs who were protected by the Tharch fate. How could they be so easy to kill? Until now, Blackie still didn't know what was sealed in the ancestral court of the reincarnation ancestral land. There must be some hidden trump cards inside. It was very difficult to deal with. The immortal world's inheritance was ancient. There might be some powerful Dharch clans with supreme trump cards. Once it reached that stage, it would be dangerous. After all, once they were injured, the human world would be in danger. There was no need to fight to the death with them now. Zichilan didn't say anything. It was clear in its heart that Blackie didn't have the confidence to take revenge. Hence, it could only snatch the Dharch herb first. If it was really confident in destroying the reincarnation ancestral land, it would have done it long ago. Now they were weak. Once they were injured, the clans behind them would suffer a disaster. If the Celestial Court could send another batch in the future, it would definitely shake the foundation of the three Dharch clans. "Let's talk things over," an old giant said. He knew that the great ancestor and the others couldn't back down. He could only bite the bullet and say, "Once we fight, the dark world will benefit. Some things can be solved. There's no need to fight." This bloody spacetime emitted an extremely tense atmosphere. The distant worlds were watching. They were also troubled. No one wanted to fight. Once a powerful civil war broke out, the immortal world would be in danger. Currently, the 10 major battlefields were in a state of emergency. The dark world was restless and might launch a large-scale war. The think tanks of the three Dharch clans felt that if they temporarily agreed to their conditions, the dark world would definitely not allow the human world to rise. They might even send troops to attack the human world. After all, with the current situation of the immortal world, the three Dharch clans would definitely be in control in the future. As long as they didn't help, the human world would definitely not be able to withstand it. Unfortunately, they didn't know that a group of ancestor gods from the dark world swore that they wouldn't attack the human world for 100,000 years. Let's go. After an entire day and night, the Celestial Court withdrew its troops. The experts all over the world heaved a sigh of relief. The troops had withdrawn. The dust had finally settled. My clan has already discussed with the Celestial Court. We will work together to fight against the dark world. The big picture is the most important. An old giant of the reincarnation imperial clan endured the humiliation in his heart and said this to maintain his pitiful face. The space-time Dharch, who had already left, sneered. This was a secret deal. The experts of the three Dharch clans didn't allow them to leak it out. After all, it was too humiliating. The three Dharch clans paid 2 Dharch herbs and 150 million kilograms of celestial source. Humiliating, humiliating, so shameful. In the dilapidated reincarnation ancestral land, a group of old antiques roared. Their eyes were bloodshot. It was too shameful. However, who would have thought that the ancient Celestial Court's master's weapon was still intact? It was equivalent to a hand pressing down on this place, forcing them to pay a huge price to resolve this matter. "Let me ask you, is Su Yen really dead?" Someone roared in grief and indignation. 2 Dharch herbs. Even if Su Yen was heavily injured, he could still survive. With his potential, if he rose up, the consequences would be unimaginable. Dead, he definitely died. The light of his primordial spirit leaked out. There's no medicine that can save him. An expert who withdrew from the burial ground at that time said mournfully, "Even with Dharch herbs, it's not enough. His primordial spirit is evaporating on its own. This is a fate that cannot be defied." Could it be that in the end, only Su Yen died? The experts of the celestial race were incomparably resentful. The Empress and the others had all died. Su Yen was originally the imperial war god of the celestial world, but in the end, a series of major events ended. Now that they thought about it, only Su Yen died. They were too sullen in their hearts and roared continuously. "Stop quarreling!" The great ancestor was furious. The 10 great battlefields were in a state of emergency. The immortal demon battlefield reopened. This was the most important matter that threatened the celestial world. Although they had worked together with the Dark World to scheme something, the Celestial World and the Dark World were like fire and water. They both wanted to unify the three realms. The day my master returns will be the day the Celestial Court falls. The black-clothed woman suppressed her grief and anger and said coldly, "Just wait, that day won't be too far away." Chapter 2095. 3 days later. A resplendent immortal phoenix suddenly rushed out of the pitch-black heaven burial sea. It was bathed in fire, brilliant and dazzling. Chirp, chirp. A lifelike immemorial divine phoenix appeared. It was bathed in divine essence and surrounded by powerful soul light. It illuminated the heaven burial sea dazzlingly, as if it had become the world's most sacred pure land. Countless soldiers felt their primordial spirits warm up. Their primordial spirits were strengthening and becoming more solid. They were extremely excited. Such a top-notch primordial spirit secret medicine would definitely help Su Yen reconstruct his primordial spirit and fight the world again. The Emperor medicine bloomed in the Black King Cauldron, pouring out powerful soul matter. Baokai and the others roared. They bathed in the primordial spirit essence sprinkled by the immortal phoenix Emperor medicine. Their primordial spirits were full and sparkling, becoming extremely powerful. They all had a kind of immortal king primordial spirit level. One could imagine the value of this Emperor medicine. After all, it was one of the immortal world's publicly acknowledged strongest Emperor medicine. Big Black refined it for 3 days and 3 nights in the Black King Cauldron before it melted. The primordial spirit tide sprinkled down like an ocean, nourishing all living things. The Heavenly King and the others all received astonishing nourishment, and their primordial spirits improved by leaps and bounds. Wung. Pieces of cracked bones shone, and the declining spiritual power suddenly condensed by a large portion. However, by relying on this large portion of soul power, the Sword Ancestor also emitted extremely terrifying fluctuations, causing this heaven burial sea to faintly rumble. It was like billions of immortal swords opening and closing, incomparably domineering. The soldiers all felt a chill on their necks, as if their heads were about to fall. They roared excitedly. This was the Sword Ancestor of the human world, known as the strongest Emperor. Once he reached a complete and flawless state, he would be an existence comparable to the Black King. Old monster, don't shout blindly and disturb this king's refinement. Big Black appeared to be irritable. He opened his mouth and spat out raging flames into the Black King Cauldron, further purifying the immortal Phoenix Emperor medicine. The impurities that had been refined were all beaten out, bringing blessings to all living things. This medicine is really extraordinary. Even with impurities, it contains soul medicine that can help one become an immortal king. The Black King clicked his tongue. Back then, he had taken the risk to be buried in the Emperor Vile Earth and obtained immortal Phoenix Emperor medicine. However, he had almost paid the price of his life. Actually, if the Sword Ancestor, they would be able to, no matter how powerful the 3 great Emperor's clans were, they would be. Ha 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 ha! Sword Master laughed heartily. He felt like he had endured an epic's calamity. His essence, energy, and spirit had ignited his soul flame. Even a portion of his damaged soul had appeared. There was hope for him to reconstruct his primordial spirit. In the future, he might even be able to use this opportunity to reconstruct his corporeal body. Of course, the price he would have to pay was too great. The purple Qilin was extremely shocked. This pile of ruined bones belonged to one of the most powerful emperors when it was alive, powerful to the extreme, a giant comparable to the 3 ancestors. It was one of the most powerful giants in the mortal realm, extremely exceptional. If he could recover his physical body one day, it would truly be formidable. He would definitely be a powerful helper for them. Fairy Zixia looked at Big Black, hoping that Big Black would give a portion of the soul medicine to the mysterious skeleton. Su Yen wouldn't be able to use such a terrifying emperor medicine. Don't listen to him whine. I've already given him quite a bit. Dahe was helpless. The outstanding talented woman of the mysterious yellow universe begged him bitterly. Of course, Dahe would help her. However, it was impossible to help the Sword Master reconstruct his primordial spirit in a short time, even if it suddenly gave him a whole king's herb. Who's complaining? I didn't ask for it. Sword Master shouted. He was in a great mood. The Celestial Court had an expert who could take charge of the Celestial Court. His might shook the immortal realm and ensured the safety of the mortal realm. This was great news. After half a day, the Black King Furnace spewed out soul medicine with a dazzling luster. A huge immortal phoenix spread its wings and split open the sky. It's done. Big Black raised his large claw and sent the immortal phoenix Emperor medicine into the second creation space of the burial ground. The sea of 5-colored soul medicine flowed through space and time, flowing toward the nearly invisible soul body of the nascent divinity. 1. Su Yan's illusory primordial spirit attacked the 5-colored soul medicine. It was a supreme soul medicine that could defy the heavens and change fate. The illusory primordial spirit gradually condensed. The process was very slow. Su Yan's primordial spirit was too illusory and blurry. One careless mistake, and it would be torn apart by the soul medicine. Old Senior, how much longer will it take for my husband to come out? Can he come out tomorrow? Bamboo Moon was very nervous. She hugged a pure and white chubby boy and asked expectantly. The big stone in her heart had also been lifted. Black King's body was huge. His mouth and nose spewed out the light of purgatory. He looked a little fierce and was obviously not a kind person. As long as he got close to the chubby boy in Bamboo Moon's arms, he would immediately be frightened into crying. Big Black was a little irritable. This king was so domineering, but was he so cruel? Su Yan's foundation was quite terrifying. Even Big Black wanted to take him in as a disciple, but Big Goldie would rather die than obey. He had to let this child cultivate the human emperor's scripture of the mortal realm. He would be nurtured as the strongest generation of Sky Burial Cave. You're too impatient. Big Black shook his head and looked at the second 9-colored creation space. He whispered, his primordial spirit is almost gone. I used a great ability to stabilize it. It's so weak that a gust of wind can blow it away. Even with the Emperor medicine, it needs to be nourished in the most gentle way. Will it take many days? Bamboo Moon asked. Days? Big Black sneered. It'll be good if he can wake up in 10 years. It's hard to say how long it will take. It might take 100 years. Bamboo Moon's eyes were red. She was in a bad mood. Would it take so many years? Fairy Zixia whispered a few words to Bamboo Moon. This made Bamboo Moon blush. She glared at Fairy Zixia. However, as long as Su Yan was fine, then so be it. He was safe now. Sky Bamboo's ancestor frowned. She pulled Big Black and asked seriously. Big Black hesitated for a moment and sighed. Come back after billions of years. The chaotic bamboo couldn't bear it. If she told Bamboo Moon, it would be too cruel to her. Billions of years, how could she wait? Why so long? The chaotic bamboo was puzzled. Everything in the world is predestined and has karma. Blackie explained to her telepathically. It's impossible for a broken heavenly embryo to be truly complete without billions of years. Of course, I can also make him come out of seclusion early, but that's not good. He'll have to pass this stage sooner or later. Big Black's tone was low. Unless. Big Black hesitated. This made the chaotic bamboo frown. What was there to keep secret? Unless. Big Black scratched his head and said, unless a divine immortal can come and use her supreme methods to make him come out early. The chaotic bamboo fell silent. That was the most terrifying expert of the Celestial Court. Her growth history was terrifying. In terms of cultivation speed, no one in the Celestial Court could compare. She was born a divine immortal, and came out of seclusion after being nurtured for a long time. She was brother and sister to the master of the celestial court. If she could come, Su Yen might be able to break through the stage early. What did you go through back then? Dao Shi also came to ask. Back then, Big Black and the other top experts of the celestial court left and went outside the three realms. What did they experience? Big Black's hair stood on end when he thought about it. Along the way, they encountered a great disaster and were scattered. It was difficult to gather for a long time. Perhaps some experts fell, but some obtained heaven-defying fortunes. The experience was very complicated and could not be explained in a short time. There was also one point. Back then, Black King and Purple Qilin were not too terrifying. They hid in some places of fortune for thousands of years to grow and become stronger. Big Black speculated that while they were hibernating and growing, Monkey King and the rest should have gone to the deepest part of the buried Emperor Vile Earth. Perhaps to solve the root of the problem outside the three realms, we have to start from the three realms. Blackie suddenly said in a low voice. Su Yen might be able to provide crucial help. Could they really wait for hundreds of millions of years? Big Black decided to return to the Xianwang universe first and settle the matters at home. There was a path to the human world here. Although it was broken, Black King used his great power to open it after half a year. Bamboo Moon, do you want to leave or stay? For half a year, Bamboo Moon stood guard here. The child also slowly grew up. He was white and chubby, babbling as he ran around the world. He could already open his mouth to speak. Let's go. Bamboo Moon looked at the gradually growing child and made a difficult decision. The child needed to grow up and communicate with people of the same age. Being trapped here was not a solution. It had already been half a year. Big Black checked again and told Bamboo Moon that Su Yen still had several hundred years. Big Gold also argued that he wanted to leave and nurture Su Yan's descendant. Big Black's ears were about to explode. In the end, he taught him a divine ability obtained outside the three realms so that his Gold Dipper mother material could also have a clone. Buried realm needed to be protected. Just like that, they all left one after another. Time passed quickly. 1 year passed after another. In the 9-colored world, it was cold and silent. An illusory primordial spirit gradually condensed, gushing with 5-colored divine multicolored light. His primordial spirit had recovered quite a bit. Although it was still somewhat illusory, it would recover after being nourished by the Emperor medicine for a long time. Woo-woo, in the vast and boundless immortal world, several years had passed. Very few people dared to mention the tragedy of that year. Bad news came from the immortal demon battlefield, causing a world-shaking storm. The entire immortal world was stirred up, causing great waves. We lost. The heroes roared. Batch after batch of experts shed tears. Lost. They lost on the immortal demon battlefield. A good hand was beaten to a pulp. A terrible defeat. How shameful. After the defeat on the immortal demon battlefield, the three emperor clans suddenly summoned the entire immortal world. Several terrifying young overlords walked out, but they still lost miserably. We lost. The heroes lost control of their emotions. The future was not good. The 10 major battlefields were filled with bloody battles. The immortal world was at a disadvantage. Now, the immortal demon battlefield ended in a terrible defeat. In these 10 years, too many things had happened. It was comparable to 10,000 years, 100,000 years, 1,000,000 years, or even 10 million years. This was like a flood of history, unstoppable. The Dark World won. The only one left was Su Yen. 3 battles, 3 victories. 10,000 creatures wept. Once they lost, it foreshadowed a bad future. It would affect the immortal world's endless river of time. The future battles would be even more difficult. Immortal world's people were not united. Immortal Elder Academy completely broke apart. The 3 emperor clans did not completely grasp the immortal world either. In short, chaos was everywhere. 3 years later, the immortal world's entire body trembled intensely. Heaven and earth became pitch black, as if they entered an age of doomsday. The experts of the various great emperor clans walked out. They gazed into the pitch-black sky. They couldn't see the sun, couldn't see the moon, couldn't comprehend the laws of order. It was as if everything was empty. A few old giants crawled out from the earth, roaring towards the sky. The emperor's fate was lost, no longer existing. The immortal world was damaged. It became dim without light, releasing a feeling of sorrow. The great fortune no longer appeared, replaced by a chaotic world. The immortal world's fundamental will was in chaos, causing the great Tao to become chaotic and unstable. Only the Emperor Clan's world could guarantee a complete spacetime. However, when one looked at the entire immortal world, darkness covered the sun, sinister winds roaring angrily. Large amounts of old experts passed away in meditation, reaching the end of their lives. Batch after batch of outstanding young Ingjie cried out in despair. They couldn't comprehend the path of the strong, couldn't find the direction of the great path. They were going to lose themselves, miss out on a good era. This was precisely the great fortune of the Black World. Dark World welcomed its most powerful era, while the people of the immortal world became unstable. A great battle erupted. Blood flowed from the 10 great battlefields. The 3 realms' battlefield was filled with bloody battles. The 3 emperor clans had no choice but to send out troops to suppress the situation, had no choice but to stabilize the situation. Otherwise, who in the immortal world would dare believe them? They felt like the loss of prestige could be made up for, but the prerequisite was that they had to stabilize the immortal world situation. War God Su Yen. 10 years passed. The immortal world's chaos became more and more cruel. Comprehending the Tao was difficult, cultivating the Tao was difficult. A drunk heavenly genius from Immortal Grotto in Emperor City roared towards the sky. Imperial Prince War God Si, if he was still here, he would definitely be able to stabilize the situation of the 10 great battlefields with extreme strength, slaughter the Dark World into a great defeat. Immortal World would also welcome its most powerful era, the best era. These words triggered heaven overflowing wave. A few people's tears flowed, sighing endlessly. Rumor had it that he was dead, unable to live on. More than 10 years passed, and there was no news of Su Yen. He wouldn't be able to return. It was a pity that this young prodigy who was drunk did not survive the night. He died suddenly at home. Throughout the entire celestial realm, there were too many living beings who missed and revered the invincible legend of the Imperial War God. They should have won this battle, they should have obtained the great fortune, they should have obtained the new emperor who shocked the 3 realms. The immortal world welcomed its worst era. After 30 years of brewing, it reached its peak. Darkness covered the sun, winds roared, the Tao became unstable, the land collapsed, many holy lands were heading towards destruction. The immortal world's will was in chaos, the immortal king path was pretty much cut off. No one would be able to step onto it for 10,000 years. This was one disaster after another. The most difficult era of the immortal world had begun just like that. However, in the sky at burial ground, even Big Gold was annoyed. What kind of weather was this? The immortal world's environment was so bad that it even affected burial ground. He realized that the weather this time was even worse than in the past. In the second land of creation, it was like being placed in the immortal world's environment. Su Yan's primordial spirit underwent a long period of cultivation and finally recovered its immortal king energy. At this moment, his primordial spirit fell into his body. He really wanted to crawl up and leave. He missed his wife and children. But he realized that he was too tired, too tired. This kind of fatigue was like a mortal who hadn't eaten for 10 days and 10 nights. He was so tired that he couldn't even lift a finger. Gradually, Su Yan's terrifying primordial spirit couldn't take it anymore and soon fell asleep. His body was completely sealed, as if he had turned into a 9-colored immortal fetus. Suddenly, the immortal fetus changed greatly, and 2 streams of energy rushed out. one black and one white. The moment the two streams of energy shone, divine light shot into the nine heavens, causing the chaotic and violent immortal world's source to dance. It was as if it had found a home, a land of great fortune. The nine-colored immortal fetus seized the great fortune of the immortal world. In the most difficult era, it grew at the most terrifying speed,